Jackie did that.
Now you have,
Seriously, don't put it off because I did, and I ended up instead of having to redo
Nobody wants to talk maintenance right away, you know.
and that's a
But,
much
yeah,
more
they
serious
can, right, it's
operation.
just more starting to look similar to taking care of a
Yeah,
wooden
I
shack.
was having
But it
PT
is,
for it for
it is maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
2 years, 3 years.
The daycare center has a big history.
Don't shut it off.
Stuff.
They tell you when you move it.
No, I get some back here, ones I gotta get taken care of first, which is,
The old bud.
yeah, just
Kind of-
British company that then has
It does.
a Canadian
That
division,
does.
which is their North American. They started coming out and they started buying up daycare centers.
Frank, how was your trip?
Good, good.
Good? Hey, Lance? Why did they put this show towards Mary first?
Why should we?
Or why didn't you?
Just because it needs to be addressed, so we added it to the agenda, but I don't
You know what, I'd like to move it to the end of the agenda, let him wait.
Okay,
Thank
that's fine, that's your call, we can do that.
you. You're okay, Lucy.
Yep. So do you have that? Yes.
My final years,
This was here, boy, these are the,
yeah, but then I don't have that. It's a revised plan and some pictures.
Oh, nope, here you go, Jackie.
Jeffrey has one here.
Okay. Jeffrey.
wait a minute, no, this is,
Oh, that's it.
you know what?
No, staff, I'll be staff, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, my bad.
Planner, zoning enforcement officer, wetlands coordinator, light enforcement, all that
I'm
fun stuff.
Howard here.
So, tonight I'm just gonna be watching, taking some notes,
Okay.
and it's gonna be handed off.
okay, all right, thank you. Oh, yeah? I didn't get anything, right?
This isn't new.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah.
What?
When? The lady that was here last month taking notes,
She decided not to continue, unfortunately, so we're gonna need a new recording clerk.
I was afraid you were gonna say that.
I'll do the best I can.
No, I
You've
just,
already done it once, you've done great.
no, I just, not surprised, but I am surprised.
Don't be. It's a trend.
Oh, God. What's up, guys? Good?
How about you?
Busy week last week, but good. Busy, good. The windows came in, Thursday. Okay. And my guy was tentatively planning on doing it tomorrow, then I got a text tonight that he didn't finish up what he's doing. So it'll be one day next week, and I'm waiting for the skylights before I let the roof guy start.
Glad you got that.
Just, it's like a clean up everything, you know, I don't wanna.
It's one of those things lingering over your head.
Yeah, you know, the more work to do ahead of time, it's gonna get all full people over.
I just spoke.
It's not on the loop, but
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission to order. It's, from my angle, it's 7 PM, May 17th. First order of business is the attendance, Stephen Molinelli, Chair, present. Russell Davenport, Vice Chair.
Present.
Jackie Mulvey, Secretary. Jeffrey Lippincott.
Present.
Frank Oliveri.
Present.
Gary Paganelli.
Present.
Okay, just for public information, we have 3 vacancies on this commission. We should have 9, so we have 6 active members, but we should have 9, so there are 3 vacancies outstanding. I'd like to seek approval for the minutes of March 14th and then April 19th, which is both regular meetings. Is there a motion on the March 15th regular meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the March 15th regular meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Thank you, Gary. Any changes? All those in favor of approval? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 abstention. Next order of business is the April 19th regular meeting.
I can make a motion to approve the minutes for the April 19th, 2023 regular meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Gary, any changes, recommendations? No? All those in favor of approval? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I have to
Abstention?
abstain, I wasn't here, so.
Abstention? 4 approved, 4 yes, 2 abstentions. Okay, under agenda review, I have a couple of items that I'd like to just put out on the table, because they're not on the agenda. First of all, Mary Ann Marino had her last meeting last month, and I'd like to thank Mary Ann for her services. She spent, I'm gonna say 3 or 4 years as a member of this commission, and she was an active member. So, Mary Ann, thank you very much for your service. Second order of business from my perspective is Pam Columbi, who was the land use facilitator in Town Hall. She's taken another position in Town Hall in the, I think, tax collector's office. So, from a personal point of view, I think she was an invaluable asset to this committee and to myself. She had a lot of answers to a lot of questions, and I just hope that the people who replaced Pam and the wetlands agent eventually have the expertise and knowledge that she was able to pass along to us. So, Pam, thank you very much. I don't think there's anything else from my perspective under agenda review. Just for public information, somewhere tonight, I'm expecting a town engineer for a project on 212 West Wakefield Boulevard. And the arrangement I made with the engineer is that when he comes in, I will call him as the next order of business so that, you know, I'm not gonna interrupt what we're doing, but if he comes in between who's ever next, I'm gonna bring him up forward, because he's has a meeting in, I think, New Hartford, he said, and here, so he may have to go back and forth, so to accommodate him and us, just be aware of that. I think that's it for me under agenda review. The first order of business is a show cause hearing. Edmund Finn, present. You wanna come forward, sir, introduce yourself?
Yeah, I have to laugh because
Wanna sit down, use the mic?
can I stand?
You can stand, but use the mic.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to laugh because back in 1998, maybe the year 2000, I served on the Board of Education here in this room. And what made me laugh was, we used to think we got all the paperwork, but as I sat here in the chairs out here in the audience, I'm watching ladies and gentlemen go through your packets and what have you. And I said to myself, boy, if that doesn't bring back memories. But anyway, I don't know what to do, so you're gonna have to guide me here. I received this today. It was delivered by as my wife said, a policeman. So I need some guidance from the board here. What does this mean, and what do I need to tell you? So can you help me with that,
Just,
or not?
yes, we can.
Okay.
From the board's perspective, I received a phone call from Lance yesterday, alerting me to this, so the board knows nothing about why you're here in reality,
Okay.
okay?
So you want a
I'm
little
gonna ask
history here.
Lance to fill in the gaps,
Okay.
and then you'll have a reason why you're here and how to remedy why you're here.
Okay.
Lance?
Would you like me to start? Sure. So we received a formal complaint that self and Jeff went out to investigate yesterday. That's why this all happened very quickly. And the complaint was that a stream, maybe intermittent, had been filled in completely, put in a drainage culvert on the side of a driveway that's at 52 Strong Terrace. The driveway had been extended, no permits, culvert put in, no permits, and it turns out that all the work that had been done, a lot of the site work was on the neighboring property. So that was
Okay.
what initiated you to come in.
I got you. All right, there's, I am familiar with this then, because I think the person here in question had visited my house about 3 weeks ago with a complaint about the property not being kept up correctly to her standards, and
That was a neighbor? Oh, sorry.
this is the neighbor at 52 Strong Terrace. So I have been a kind of an absentee landlord. The tenants I have are excellent. I have not charged them a lot of rent, but they have taken care of the place. So when this person arrived at my house, I immediately got in my car and rode over there because I wanted to see if her complaints were valid. I toured the property, I knocked on the door, got the tenant out, and I toured the property, and I did see a couple of things. A bear had gotten into some trash. The trash was actually in the neighbor's yard, not the neighbor who had complained to me, but the neighbor on the other side. But I told the tenant, I said, I don't know whose trash it is, but I would like you to pick that up. And I then went through the lot, and I have to say that I didn't find, beer cans or anything like that that supposedly were there. The typical household things, ladders, but stacked neatly on the side of the shed. The people were working on a four-wheeler. They had it under a little tent. And so I went through and said, you gotta take this, and, the neighbor's complaining about it, and get rid of that, and what have you. So we were under the agreement that they would do that. I said, I'll be back in a week to check on it. So I came back. Oh, let me back up. I did see the driveway in question, and there was one marker, and I didn't necessarily see that driveway was on the, I'll call it complainant, for lack of a better words, property. But anyway, it was not a stream that had been filled in. It was there was a pipe put in there, an 8 or a 10-inch pipe, and then it was filled over. Now, at the base of this pipe, where the road is a town of Winstead drain. Above that is a little stream that sometimes flows into there and sometimes doesn't. So anyway, I did come back the second week, and at the end of my tour, the person who I think complained came out, and I said to the person, I said, much improved, and that person agreed. At that point, the person said to me, I'd like to put up a fence on the property line. I said to the person, I said, I don't see where a fence would benefit me, and that person wanted me to pay for it, half of it. I said, I don't see where we would get a benefit from that. And she said, well, at that point, I may have to contact the Inland Wetland Commission And she said, I think this is a violation here. So I said, we're done. I don't need to talk to you anymore. I said, I said, that sounds like a threat to me. So I said, you do what you need to do. However, I did go over and I told the tenant, I said, don't park on her property. If she, whether it's her property or not, get your vehicle over here close enough so that she's not gonna complain. There were one or two other little items that I didn't care for that were there. I said, get them out of there. I haven't been back, this would be the third week, but I will check this week. But anyway, to make a long story short here, the flow has not been obstructed. It's channeled through a pipe that's probably this big. I called my tenant today, because his wife was there at the time, and I said, when did you do that? You never told me you were doing that. And I said, now I'm in trouble. He said, I did that about 4 years ago. I said, but in the citation here, it says recently. Now, 4 years in my mind is not recent. Maybe it is, but that driveway has been in existence now for 4 years at least. And he said it cost me considerable amount of money to do that. I had to buy the piping and the fill and everything else. So anyway, I told him, I said that I had to come down here tonight and talk to you ladies and gentlemen. But I don't see this as an issue. I actually see it as an improvement, because that brook that flowed through there, if it was a brook, it would dry up, was full of poison ivy. And we'd have to spray it. And motor oil would get in there because they changed their oil, and antifreeze. So the chemicals and things that would have gone into that flow and down that drain aren't there now. And I consider that an improvement. But again, I realize that I'm responsible for this because I'm the guy that holds the title. But I had no idea that it went on, and I don't really see it as a bad thing. I think it will keep the motor oil, the chemicals, and what have you, out of the water supply. So I'm asking that, you would dismiss this. So that's all I have to say. Can I answer any questions that you have?
Lance, what else do you have to add to this?
I don't suggest dismissing it. I would say it needs to be permitted, and that would be your decision if you feel it's appropriate. I would not say that it's been 4 years, so I would say the evidence that we saw was more recent. Could it have been a little time frame? Yeah, but not enough of the vegetation has grown back in its place to say that 4 years have gone by. My opinion.
Well, I hear you, but I did ask the guy that did it.
Yep.
And that's what he said.
Okay. And we did get video of the back of the excavator work going on as part of the testimony. I don't think that's date stamped, but I could check that again.
There's a little bit of irony here too, and excuse me for cutting
No,
you
it's
off,
fine.
okay?
Yep.
The person who I think may have complained had some woodland off behind her house. She used that same driveway to get the trucks in to service the woods and what have you behind her house. So it's just kind of ironic in my mind that there would be a complaint. She has no access.
All right, I'd like to put the complaint on record so we know what we're talking about. We heard your perspective of the complaint. The complaint on record was that you filled in a brook on my property. The address of the property, I think, is 52 Strong Terrace, slightly on his at the bottom of a storm drain. You redid an entry driveway, double the length of the driveway in width without a permit. An excavator and a skid loader was present. At least 5 truckloads or dumpsters with fill and gravel were left, encroached on my property, buried base of my tree, killing it, left rough my property, no topsoil, regrade grass and mulch, let tenants do it all, no regard. There's a significant amount of concern that this complainant brings to this committee. We've seen or heard her perspective, and we've listened to yours. I think the only remedy at this point is gonna be, number one, don't do anything else and tell your tenant not to do anything else. And
I'm
number
sure
two-
he didn't realize that he would need a permit.
I'm not blaming either or.
Yeah.
I'm saying don't do anything else. Number two, you better sit down with Lance and the land commission in this town hall over here and fill out an application for what was done, and we'll determine whether or not it was done properly or improperly. And number three, be sure to do that, post the fee for it, and don't do anything until you come back here next month and we hear what the application, or we look at what the application is asking for. And at that point, we'll accept the application. We'll probably visit your property to see what it looks like a month from now without any work being done. So it should look the same as it does tonight. And we'll determine what suggestions we're going to make and what you need to do to remedy your solution. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm speaking not for the commission, but I'm concerned, you're the owner of the property, so you hold the responsibility of maintaining the property to the standard that the town sets.
I understand that.
And your tenant, if he or she violated that standard, again, you're the homeowner.
Yes,
So we're chasing you, not the tenant.
I understand perfectly.
Okay. Anybody on the commission would like to add anything?
That sounds like a good idea. That sounds like a good way to handle it.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think that sounds like a good way to handle it.
I'm sorry.
I know one of the things you will need throughout this process is some sort of current site
Yeah,
plan.
I don't hear well.
I'm sorry, that's okay. I should be leaning in. You know, one thing you will probably need to get is a survey so you can see where the lines are. Maybe there are pins there now, but your neighbor, I've had this happen to myself where the neighbor thinks the line is 4 feet over than where it is. I mean,
Yeah, 1 degree can make a big difference.
yeah, I think, you know, from maybe a zoning perspective too, because zoning deals with driveways, that you're gonna need you're probably gonna need to start with a survey. I don't know how else we determine where the lines are, or if, you know, there's really actually fill on the neighbor's property or whatnot.
Is the issue the fill on the property, or is the issue the brook?
It's kind of both. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's both.
It's just I think it's gonna be a requirement eventually to have a survey done. I think your neighbors, you're just gonna have to determine where that property line is to see what work has been done on their property, if any. Possibly, like I said, there may be no work on that property, on the neighbor's property.
And it's gonna have to be an A2 survey, so it's not gonna be something that you're gonna draw a plan up and submit to us, because we're not gonna accept it.
But the third issue is gonna be is the size of the pipe that was installed is the correct size to allow.
I'm sorry?
This culvert that was installed is the correct size to allow the stream to flow properly, so it doesn't cause anybody's problem on either properties as backup.
Lance, anything else to add?
And then as part of when we speak, you'll have to apply for the driveway permit.
I'm sorry?
Driveway permit, that would be one of the last pieces that you would have to apply for.
Okay. So you're the person I need to talk to?
Yep.
When this is over?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so am I clear that whatever exists today stays this way until you come back next month?
Absolutely.
And we listen to your presentation as to what you're asking for. And again, we'll accept your application and then tell you, and I think some of what we told you already is what we're going to be asking for next month, is an A2 survey, a driving a permit that you've applied for, our permit, and other things that may come up upon visiting the property. So far, to my knowledge, I think only Lance and Jeff
Yes.
have been on the property. And as I told you introductory, I got a call from Lance yesterday, it was on my desk now, knew nothing about it prior to now. So we're at a disadvantage. You were brought into the picture a while ago because of the neighbor, and now you're in front of us. So do we have a clear understanding of what's expected of your behavior?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from anybody here?
Could I just ask one
Go ahead.
question? You're 52 or 42?
52.
It just says here, location of complaint, and it's 52. Owner's address is 42. Isn't that just the opposite?
I believe that's correct. I believe it's the opposite. So she may have misunderstood that.
So the
Complainant is
person
40.
lodging the complaint is 42.
Two,
Correct.
and the owner is 52. Thank you.
Anybody with anything else? All right, do we need a motion for any of this, Lance?
I don't know, it's the first time. Motion to basically just continue at the next meeting.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we continue this application, or the lack of an application, but we continue the cease and desist show cause hearing to the regular June meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Jackie, all those in favor of continuing? All right, unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or if you have an email address, that's the best way to reach me. Anyways.
Okay, the next order of business is public hearing, IWWC 23-2. The applicant is Maureen Pisano, 148 East Wakefield Boulevard. The proposal is a 40 by 4-foot dock and boat lift. My understanding is that the applicant has asked for a continuance until June 21st.
That is correct.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect that we continue?
So moved.
I'll make the motion, and Jackie seconds it. All those in favor of continuing? Lance, with regard to her, pay attention to the time frame.
Actually, we spoke with her surveyor today, so I think he'll definitely be ready by the next meeting.
Okay. What's the date of the next, the June
June
meeting?
21st?
21st, it is. Okay, next order of business is a public hearing, and it's the town of Winchester. The applicant is Lance Hanson, and it's, the location is point location 41.9326-73-0619. The proposal is a new pavilion along the pond at Tatro Park.
Yep, Tetro.
Recuse yourself.
I just did for a second, yeah.
Okay, for the minutes, Lance has recused himself, being the applicant. What's your request?
Just to give you a heads up, everything is ready to go except for the survey, and I'm actually working with a surveyor right now, so that will hopefully be in place for June 21st.
Okay,
You remember last meeting you said that was a requirement.
yeah,
And actually, Nicholas, who's the Eagle Scout, who's doing the project, will be presenting. I'll come and probably support him, but that's part of the, yeah. So he'll come and do the presentation.
okay, one of the concerns that we had last month was that the application itself was incomplete.
You should have gotten the more support. It was originally submitted. I don't know why it never got printed out, but the photo of what's proposed for the pavilion with, I think, the dimensions.
It wasn't in our packet.
Again?
I didn't see it. Anybody?
I swear I did it.
All right, at this point, it's irrelevant,
All right, well,
but
make sure everything is.
please
complete
make
for
sure
next time.
it's completed application in our packet. I did get a report that there's been work being done prior to the approval of this, with lack of approval on this application. Any knowledge of it?
So, yes, the Friends group that now exists, they did a massive cleanup day in preparation for the Sunday for the fishing derby. Basically removed any trash that was on site, bagged everything up, raked, but they did mow. And then the only other thing that happened on site that probably should have been at least in the pipeline, was removing of some of the brush that's along the backside of the hillside. But no impact on wetlands. And Tanya, who's our recreation director, has kind of been supervisor for that.
How do we know, and I don't want to put you on the spot, how do we know there's been no impact on wetlands if they did what you're describing?
Yeah, I wasn't there the day of it, but I've been there since, and in my opinion, there's no impact. We did recognize where the low areas are that are holding water, and if you look, but you didn't get it, unfortunately, I apologize, the soils that are determined in that site, the only wetland soils on that backside of the pond are actually right at the base of the mountain of the ridge line.
Have the wetlands been tagged?
Not yet, that's part of what I wanna hopefully be able to accomplish before next meeting. But we're actually not proposing any work there, so.
Are you in the review area that?
It's within 100 feet of the
So then,
watercourse, right.
even though you're not, we need something,
Right.
okay? Anybody with any other concerns?
No, I mean, they've cut that vegetation back over the years, you know, they've opened it up. I mean, you know, every 5 years or so, I feel like
So
they
they're
cut back
maintaining it.
more. Yeah, they maintain it.
It truly is.
Yeah, it's more of a
maintained.
maintenance
For
thing.
safety is all, as well. Jim Rollins, as you all know, is Public Works Director, and also our tree warden has given us sort of his blessing that we could limb and take down brush.
Yeah.
So we did do that properly, going through all the right people to ask for permission.
All right, do you intend to do any other work between now and next month?
No, and it's just the fishing derby that's happening this weekend. Probably, you know, as a park, as you may know, just like that's the only thing that's ever really happened to it, and it's sort of whatever. And then it gets closed down in the wintertime with the Jersey barrier, but the goal of this group is to have that park up and running 24/7. Actually, there's hours of, sorry, wrong, 365 days a year, let's just say.
Okay, so my understanding is that nothing else further will be done work-wise,
Correct.
and this fishing tournament doesn't affect
It's just an
anything at
event.
all.
Right.
Just for future planning there, is there any, what do you think of the water, not water quality we know is good, but, you know, that gets fairly stagnant, doesn't it?
Right.
Is there any
Yeah,
thought
there
about
is.
maybe, you know, introducing something that would help either the water flow or aeration there? I mean, is that,
Yep.
but is that
all
something
those things
that's,
have been talked about.
okay, all right.
The dam is, if you've been there recently, it needs
Yeah.
to be repaired, and we did put in for the budget, for that work, and then when that goes out to bid, part of that will be a survey of the pond itself. I
Right.
believe there is some sediment that's been collecting over the years inside, so you might see this again for a potential dredge project.
Right.
But we're not there yet. This is just literally just a pavilion that
Right.
Eagle Scout wants to donate his time
Yeah.
and talent to build and get something there for people to see, experience. There are 2 picnic tables that have been put there,
Yeah.
but the hope is benches, you know, make it a little bit more interactive and inviting for people to go.
So you're requesting that we continue to the June meeting
Yes, please.
for the public hearing? I'll make a motion to that effect. Is there a second? Gary? All those in favor of continuing? It's unanimous? Okay, thank you very much.
Give me your staff.
All right, we finished the public hearings. We're up to old business. Application IWWC 23-2. The applicant is Maureen Pisano. As a result of, we're going to continue the public hearing and keeping it open until June. We're not going to entertain any business on that because the public hearing was a no-show for tonight. Okay? So is there a motion to continue the old business 23-2 for Maureen Pisano to the June 21st meeting?
Yes, we did that this little, yes.
Frank made the motion, a second. Gary, all those in favor of? It's unanimous? Okay, thank you. The next application is IWWC 23-3. The owner is Scott Bouchard, Bashand, Torringford Street. Creation of a rear pond, erection of a structure and fence. Scott, introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, Scott Bashan.
All right, you weren't present at the last meeting, and apparently you had a conversation with Lance prior to the last meeting.
Yes.
And, Lance, you want to review that conversation so we know
Yep.
where to begin?
Right, and that was on me. I thought we had a long agenda, and I didn't know if we'd be able to get to Mr. Bashan in time, so I told him probably wouldn't be advantageous to come to the meeting and just postpone. It turned out we could have gotten you in, so I apologize for that, but you're here today, and we'll kind of move forward with that.
Okay, any response to that, or,
No, I was fine with it.
okay.
He called.
All right, just sort of backtrack because we're going back 2 months now. You want to create a rear pond?
The pond is created,
It's created. Is it permitted?
No, that's what I'm here for.
Okay. What else are you here for?
I believe the shed that's built on the side of the pond,
And that was not permitted.
that was not permitted, and apparently it's too close, or it's 80, I don't know, you have a survey that I had done.
I got one question, Ralph.
Do we have a survey?
Just before you, whatever I have, there's
Well, I
nothing.
hope you have it, because it cost me $6,000 for Mike, that I got him what he wanted.
No, just let me finish. Whatever I have was from 2 months ago. So, you know.
Yeah, that should be
Okay,
in there.
I just want you to be sure that, I just want to be sure there's nothing,
I think it's 75 or 80 feet. I think the building's a little top indicated on the map there. Somewhere on
It
that.
should be labeled existing building.
Existing building, right? Yes, right.
It's a tool shed.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Was that tool shed there prior to the pond?
I believe it was built when we started to dig the pond,
Or did it?
and we left our tools in.
What's the pond for?
The pond we swim in, we fish in.
Use it for agricultural uses?
It is now, recently, last week, we planted 1,000 Christmas trees in that backfield,
Okay.
and we are watering the
So
trees.
you're
Yeah.
irrigating out of it? Okay. So, and it is considered a farm? It's under state?
I have farm status, sir, under the state. The town is yet to recognize it. Why, I don't know.
You have to go through an act of Congress to get it from the state to start with, then the town
Well,
more or less has to.
Anywhere that I called, any other town that I called, when you have your state status, you
get
present it to the town, and you get your town status.
Right.
It's not happening here. And they've had my paperwork since October. So I have state tax number, I have farm plates on my truck,
Yeah.
but the town won't recognize.
That's a farm.
So I don't know where we're going with that. We may be
Can I-
going,
Yeah,
Respond,
Lance,
I
if
don't
you
know when
would.
that's
What are we
appropriate.
doing?
Okay.
Gary, you finished?
Well, no, because if it is a farm, all right, according to the State Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act, all right, he has the right to construct a 3-acre minus pond without a permit, and also have a building, and also take soil off.
less than 3 acres.
Less than 3 acres,
Yes.
and also take soil off the property, as long as he's not mining it. He has the right, if he is creating farmland, corn, agricultural land, could be for grazing, could be anything. He has the right to take the mounds out, no matter what the height of the mounds are. So if it's designated as a farm with the state, all right, I don't know where we stand here, because I have the whole state program right in
I
front of me.
preached that forever to Mike, and Mike's gone now. And I did what he wanted, I got his survey and tried to comply, but I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm gonna have to get an attorney, I guess, and have them ask the town why I can't have my farm status. They don't want me to put a fruit stand up, they want me to go to a public hearing.
Well, that's all town, that's sort of
Right.
outside of this meeting, but yeah.
But it's torture, is all it is, and harassment.
Lance, you had your hand up?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Where should we start? So, I believe I gave you a scenario, summary that I shared with Mr.
Yeah.
Sean from my site visit,
Can I
which you had
just
asked to do.
interrupt 1 second?
Yeah.
I am permitted for what you were just talking about. And I did get dragged to court last month from the town, and I presented that to the judge. And he didn't have much to say about it.
We should touch on that too, though. Okay, because
It seems like there's a lot going on with
Let's
this
talk
site,
out
right?
loud.
There's a long history with this site.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Seems
let's-
like, yeah.
Let's one at a
But I
time and
can't,
talk out loud.
I can't get it correct either. It's a fight tooth and nail no matter what I do.
Let's keep going.
The problem with what's gonna happen here is if it's deemed a farm, okay, which, as far as I'm concerned, and I will vote to the fact that it's a farm if it's got state status, because I'm involved in the state farm stuff. He has as of right to do everything and I walked the piece, I looked at it, he has as of right to do everything he's doing.
If
As
it's
long
a
as he
farm.
uses that pond for agricultural use, as long as he uses that building for agricultural use,
And I've,
as long as he is not filling the wetlands, he can fill right up to the edge of the wetlands. As long as he's not filling wetlands, he can take and lower the grade by 40 feet if he wants, if there's a knoll, and he's putting it into agriculture. If he's putting into cropland, he has a right to do that.
so I
So the
invited,
state wrote our laws that said you could fill wetlands?
No, I just said you can't,
Up to
Right.
it, go up to
Upland.
it.
up to it.
Up to it, okay.
Up to it, that's under all the agricultural stuff. You can't change a water course, you can't fill in a water course, an active water course. You can't divert it. But everything that I saw up there, as far as, okay, now we'll go back to all the trees, you know, you drive up there, it's kind of devastating, you see all the trees. If he was in forestry, he couldn't cut the trees. Being cropland, he has the right to cut every tree off the property to create cropland.
From what I heard before, was that he created the pond. He
Yeah.
made the pond.
Yeah. He can.
The state,
State lets you.
the state lets him do whatever it wants.
The state can, you can, if you're under agricultural, I got all laws and rules right there. If you're under agricultural, you can build a pond under 3 acres. Automatic, as long as you're using it for agricultural use,
with no dam.
with no dam and stuff of that nature. You can just
Why,
do it.
Lance, why hasn't the town sanctioned or accepted his verification that it is a farm from the state?
When we went out at the end of March, I brought 2 assessors. As we made agreements for everybody to be able to go out and see it. I also brought our building inspector to see the building that was unpermitted. And they made a determination, there wasn't any farming going on at the time. And
What time, what year, what part of the year is this?
so this is March, but we're not talking about crops. I mean, the only thing that Scott has told me is that they've done
The
is
only thing
haying.
we did at that time was hay the backfield.
That's a crop.
And then I lost it when it didn't come back well. So I just did it over. You saw that when you were out. Now there's 1,000 Christmas trees in that field. There's 500 trees in the field down below. There's 200 berry bushes.
And those are all the things that you and I talked about
Right. And
less than
I've
a month
always
ago.
invited everybody
Yep.
up. I never tried to hide anything.
Yep.
Everybody can come up.
So,
Where are we right now?
so really, if I haven't seen it in person, because I told you we've had a lot of things going on since, what I would probably say is I would recommend myself and or Jeff, once he's appointed tonight, to go back out to the site, make a new assessment, recommend to the tax assessors to maybe come up again with us, and if they deem that it's farmland, which we told you Christmas trees counts, that's an active, and
Whether
I
or
would
not,
say,
Lance, there's Christmas trees on the property or not, I have state farm status.
We don't,
That's what I don't understand. It is a farm.
I know.
It is a farm, no
You guys
matter
gotta-
what
gotta
you
get it.
think, or no matter what the tax office says. It's a farm.
there was no
So
farming
it's,
though.
what it is, it's your opinion.
Okay.
Well, you wanna see the tractor going by now? Is that what
Uh,
you're
So it's not gonna get nice from here out.
We're just having a conversation.
Well, I'm just-
It's
I'm
mostly
telling you,
between the town, I think really what's occurring here is it's mostly between the
Well,
town
you know
not
what? I
accepting.
can bring you to 8 places right now in town that have farm status, that do absolutely nothing, and all they do is reap the benefit of the taxes. If you wanna start, we'll go tomorrow.
Sure, no, I understand that.
Let's try to
not.
limit our conversation to your application and how do we resolve your
I
concerns.
shouldn't be here.
That's one suggestion. The other suggestion is that Lance should revisit, or the wetlands agent should revisit and determine its status and recommend to the town how to proceed or how not to proceed. And if legal action is required on the part of the town, please initiate it. If there's no legal action and it's just a matter of accepting the language that he stated and the documentations from the state that he should be able to provide to you,
It's all downstairs.
okay,
We have
then,
a copy
you
of
know,
everything.
hopefully, by next month, we can take your concerns away from this commission. That's where I'd like to be. You know, I don't want to keep rehashing the same thing because you made the same issue 2 months ago. Lance mistakenly said for you not to come last month.
But it's been since October.
Well, it hasn't
And
been,
and if people have opinions, it doesn't matter. Everybody has an opinion.
when did you gain farm status?
In October,
Okay.
before October, I filed in October
And
here.
to the
Wait,
town?
so I wanna get this part of it straight, so, because I feel like this project's been going on for many years, correct? You've had a long history of the property, you were at one point were a renter, or not a renter.
Renter.
You bought when did you buy the property? I'm trying to remember.
Probably 4 years ago.
Okay, so a couple years ago, the property was bought, and in October of 2022, last October,
that's right.
you got farm status.
Right.
Okay, so there was a lot of work that was done before you got farm status, correct?
Including the
Right.
creation of the pond, which
Including the
is the reason
creation
why
of
it's
the pond.
here.
Right. So like a whole bunch of work, I'm just trying to get this right in everybody's mind. A lot of work was done to the site over the years. Pond was created. I don't know, I don't believe from what I drove up there, I don't think watercourses were moved really. How much they were encroached upon, I'm not sure, because I didn't see an old survey or no photos from that. Roads were built on the site, neighbors.
was there.
Road maybe been there, I don't know. I don't know if neighbors were impacted in any way, because there was never any public hearings or whatnot, so, it seems like a lot of work was done, and now you have farm status, but I don't know if that really, if the town considers that trumps all the work that was done before. I'm not accusing you of something nefarious here, I'm just saying that's what it appears to be, right? That a lot of work was done, now you have the farm status, and
I want to continue on.
you want to continue on, and I don't know if the town is
I
completely
think
comfortable with
I think what you're
or
asking.
the neighbors are.
I think what you're asking for is you want to get out of jail card because now it's been determined that
No, I
you're-
don't want to because that's why I had the print made.
it's been
For
determined,
Mike.
let me
I
finish.
spent the money, I got what he wanted.
It's been determined that your property is now farmland, and everything that you did prior to that title, farmland, was done without a permit and inappropriately. Again, I think we should, at least I'd like to get some kind of legal opinion as to whether or not we have any more status, and if we don't, I'll be happy, because you'll be gone, and we're finished with your application. If we still maintain status because you did things prior to being declared a farm, then we have to address that. So that's where the dilemma
And
I'm
what
in.
does that include?
I don't know yet, only because I'm gonna talk to and ask for permission from the town manager to meet with the attorney, our attorney, and see where we are.
I'm welcome to fill in as much as you'd like right now, though.
Say it again?
I'm welcome to fill in as much as you'd like for the backstory.
Is that right for this sort of meeting?
I mean,
I'm not sure if that's part of the.
completely about the rear pond, the structure, the erection of the structure, and the fence that's been proposed in the application.
Right.
And I
Go
can
ahead.
speak to that.
Yes, talk to it.
Okay. So there was a cease and desist on the property right after
When?
the pond was put
When?
in. I want to say November of 2016 is when I saw a date.
Okay?
And we'll go through it, just like
No,
we'll
I'm
go
not
through
going
it.
to say a word.
And I appreciate that you again, have been meeting with me and open, and we have, I think, good communications personally. So, okay, and like I said in my write-up, hopefully you all had that, I actually
Oh, I
thought
have
the
it.
pond was done very well, personally. What Scott basically did is he took a hill knoll and hollowed it out. You're right, he did not change the watercourses. There is
No.
a stream that comes down from, I wanna say maybe the western
It's an
boundary of it.
intermediate runoff.
You can
When
hear it
pours,
though, I mean,
When
it's-
it pours, it runs.
Yep,
It's
It's
a
a-
water course.
and it comes into the pond and then drains out properly. And I don't see any impact on the Mallory Brook, wetland system. I didn't witness anything. We didn't see any erosion going on back there. I said, you did a nice job, actually, in my opinion. Should have been permitted, but anyways. The erection of the structure, that becomes a building official call, essentially. And we decided in our office, we're not gonna make Mr. Bashan tear it down. What we'd like to do is just get it compliant. And that would mean that Bill would have to go in and do an inspection, which we've been open to doing, and that, again, appreciated. Just a little more, let you know, Mr. Bashan would like to build a house on the property. So once he has a principal use with the house, the pole barn that you proposed can also go with that. And that's when we were recommending that you apply for the structure in the back, all in the same package. Get them all approved at once.
Correct. Well, then,
That's the way I would move forward, personally.
the thing is with the building, it's with the permit, then the barn would be agricultural.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Why are you confusing three structures,
Right.
two of which are
Right.
farm and one is
Thank
a
you.
residential? Why are you
You still have to
confusing-
apply for them.
No, but you're still confusing it, which
That's fine.
means
That-
They don't want me to
something-
build a pole barn
No.
because I don't have a home. So there's, Pam's telling me I don't have a usage. So they want me to build my house before the barn because then I'll have a usage of the property.
No.
Well, again, you're thinking because it's farm.
If he get,
That's
it
a
is
sta-
farm.
It is
Well,
farm,
okay.
and it is a state
So-
designation,
All right.
so
One
that's
at a
why you
town
have to
level.
Hang on,
separate
one
the
at a
two.
time, no cross.
Right now,
What I wanna do is, I don't want it to be going back and forth anymore.
No, I don't want,
So I have an architect, my house is I almost have the plans. I'm gonna present that to the building department, get my building permit, then I'll have a usage, then I could build my barn. And then the barn could be agricultural. I probably could have built the barn without the permit because it's farm. And it's an agricultural barn. But I don't wanna keep going back and forth. It's been years of going back and forth. I'm all done with back and forth.
Well, I don't wanna put any wood on the fire, but I'm looking at minutes from 2018, which says the property owner created a large pond at the rear of the property by digging into an existing wetlands and stream and allowing the depression to refill. The property owner subsequently built a building adjacent to this new pond. This activity was not part of the wetlands permits that they had acquired at the time of the activity, but enforcement never succeeded in bringing the property owner in to apply for an application and hear potential demands to remedy this commission. Again, your get-out-of-jail card seems to be the status of a farm. So once that's resolved, then this commission will have better guidelines, I think, how to respond. Willing to take your word for it, that you have that status, that you have license plates on your truck. You're gonna have to resolve this with the town. We can't.
I've tried,
I
Steve.
understand, to get a lawyer and sue the town, and,
That's
but
what I
get
have
it
to
done.
do.
But get it done, otherwise you're gonna be sitting in front of us for months.
I'm not gonna sit in front of you.
Then you're not gonna get what you need, and you're
Then
gonna look at
we're
it.
all gonna end up in court, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying, I wanna get this done.
Because I've been there once, last month, and I had a permit, but nobody else had the permit in the town hall. They seem to have lost it.
Well, then give,
Well, actually, we found it after
Right.
the fact.
After I had to get
Which
dragged
I-
to court
again-
and served with a subpoena.
But you would need to realize the reason why we're in court is for earth excavation. It has nothing to do with
Right, I
wetlands.
know, Lance, and you've been
Okay.
nothing but helpful.
Thank you.
And I just wanna put it to bed.
Yeah, me too.
But if you wanna keep going back and forth, I'm up for that too.
alright, so,
some of your earth excavation, did you start that after you got state farm status?
no, 2018.
No, I had the permit to do the earth strip the whole left-hand side of the driveway, screen, and put back the topsoil. Prior to me getting the farm status.
That was with the permit for the first 2 ponds to be dredged and cleaned out. And we did resolve that was true.
All right, so.
But
So I
that's
still
not,
have an
positive.
active
But
permit
that-
for the front pond to be dredged out that I haven't used yet.
you just have to realize the use of earth excavation is only allowed in certain zones in town. You're not in one of those zones, so you have to get a permit for
And
it.
and I understand the footprint. All right, it's large and it's scary. But it's also being cleaned up and taken care of. The whole back is all planted with new seed, it's all green. The place is gonna look like a golf course when I'm done. We put 1,500 trees in last week, it's coming together.
And our goal is to complete this application, and the remedy is that you're satisfied and we're satisfied. That's where I stand, and we stand as a commission. We want to bring this to closure.
So it's kinda in Lance's hands as far as him going to the tax assessor, pulling my folder, seeing the copy of the farm status.
That would be the logical next step. Yep.
When can that next step take place?
Honestly, it can't happen this week, but I could make it a priority on Monday.
You must have,
Would you, when you make the appointment, let me know when the two of you, with the documentation, are going to go before the town? And I'd like to be present if I can during that conversation.
Sure.
And if I can't, I'll try to get somebody else, because I don't want it to be secondhand again.
I
don't
have
wanna-
copies of everything.
No, but I don't want you to tell us what happened, I don't want Lance to tell
No,
us
it's
what
beautiful.
happened. I'd like the commission to see what happened, and we'll go from there.
Have we ever, I have one question, have we ever had any public hearings on this property? Have we have any land neighbors that may have been impacted by, I mean, I don't know, this is a big project, right?
Wasn't the first complaint
I mean,
from some neighbor?
I don't know about any
I was
complaints, all I
always
know is that a
told-
project of this scope, of what you have going on up there, which is probably mostly legal with your farm status, you can clear all that land. I mean, but I don't know if there are any neighbors, I think it's something that needs to be brought up, that there is somebody someone's raised their hand back there, but that may have to wait for a public hearing to be called in public interest, so
Who's that, my neighbor?
I don't know, somebody raised their hand.
What's that?
So, yeah, I just said, I didn't know if there was anybody it may be, I'm just presenting this to the commission, that we may want to have a public, an official public hearing in public interest.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Wait a minute,
I don't think that's a conversation to have now, I think
I
it's.
don't think so either.
Right, so in the future, we can call a public, hearing in public interest, which we do all the time.
Well, I'll tell you who's gonna complain.
Well, regardless.
gentleman sitting in the back.
Probably, but.
And Tim McGrain, well, Tim McGrain won't complain because he's since moved on.
Right, but we'll have, I think that it is in public interest and the fairness to.
I have to put my property on public interest?
Well, it already
No,
is,
no.
isn't it? No, it's not a public
we
have
interest,
public
but
hearing?
out of public interest, meaning that's the reason I would call.
So
at
somebody
that
down the
meeting.
street doesn't like what I'm doing?
You
It's
don't
an
have a
open
right to,
forum.
you don't have a right to determine what we want to do. You can listen and object to what we want to do, but we do what we want to do because of the rules that this commission has to abide by.
You show me that, where that's gotta go to public hearing.
It's a decision.
It's a
It's a
it
decision.
could
You
get-
want me to show you?
Yeah.
Anybody in favor of a motion to move to public hearing for next month? I'll make the motion. Is there a
I'd like
second?
to second the motion.
All those in favor of having a public hearing for public interest, please raise your hands.
I'm not getting into that right now,
No,
because if it's
I
farm,
think it's wrong.
Well,
we're
We
gonna-
don't know that.
It's definitely wrong.
Definitely farm.
No,
It's definitely wrong.
The motion fails,
okay.
okay? So there's no public hearing. So we can do it if we choose to vote that way. All right? All right, so where are we?
You're
Summary.
apparently not happy, let's talk about it.
There's nothing to
Say,
talk
I got
about, it's
shot
over.
down. That's fine.
I have a right, though, even though there's no public hearing, if there's somebody in the audience, the chair has a right to call up that person for input. So if the gentleman who raised his hand would like to say something, you want to move forward now?
I would.
Please identify yourself. You want to just step down so he can sit there? Thank you.
My name is Eric Steves, I'm at 261 Hartford Street. And the farm status, I I understand, but it also says in the farm status that you're not allowed to sell earth materials under farm status. You can't sell topsoil, you can't sell gravel, that's right in the state statute. And that's why I believe it went to court, because there's no excavation permit. There's 1,500 loads of material that went to Torrington High School that the property owner got paid for. Now there's there's trucks every 20 minutes going in and out of this property, triaxles hauling now, none of which is permanent.
Gary, is that an accurate perception?
It's all in determination, because number one, if he's having somebody take that dirt out, doing the work, whether he's getting a little bit of funds for it or not, he can't be an active quarry, is what it is, under agriculture.
No, the farm status says you cannot be paid for that material.
You can give it away, you can have as many trucks as you want hauling it out.
But it's not being given away, it's being paid for.
I don't know that.
How would you know that?
I don't know that. I have no idea.
That would be
It was
easy to
subpoenaed.
determine. Let's not have a cross conversation.
Turn it over to the town lawyer.
All right, let's not have a cross direct your comments here, and I'll call on anybody else.
The town lawyer has the documents that show that material is paid for.
Lance, do you have any knowledge of this?
Yes, we have a file
Is
on it.
that accurate?
That is accurate.
So it is being sold somewhere, and the gentleman's being paid for it?
Is that under that section that you permitted?
No, like I said, there's never been an earth excavation permit by planning and zoning, which is what would have covered.
So
And you
then-
usually have a certain tonnage or cubic yards, whatever, that is allowed with that permit.
So the applicant, in order to resolve that, if it's ongoing now, still should apply for a permit for that?
Correct.
Anything else to add?
No, it's just, we can't even open the windows on our house. This driveway is probably 70 feet from our house, and the dust, it's not, like I said, every 20 minutes a triaxle is going in and out of there. Yield Industries is hauling now, it was Fucci for the high school before. It's happened 3 or 4 times, maybe a little more, since he's been operating on the property. Before he owned it, he's sold to different projects, and they haul material out of there, and nothing's been done.
Okay.
Well, nothing's been done about you running your illegal landscape business out of there for 4 years either.
Gentlemen, leave it alone. Thank you.
Huh?
Okay.
That's all right, huh?
All right,
Aaron Steves?
is there anything else to add, Lance?
We are
You don't
going to
like
court
that, do you?
We are going to court on what grounds?
for the earth
Huh?
excavation permit.
Yeah, gonna take care of, because you had got the town to kick you out of there.
Mr. Bashan, anything else to add before we close this?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue
Yeah,
this?
whatever you do is all right.
Gentlemen, please. Is there a motion to continue this to next month?
I would ask, before it goes to next month, could you get this farm status cleared
Yeah,
up by the
we'll
next
do
month?
it on Monday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let me know.
As long
when.
as Becky and
And if need be, I'll apply for that other permit too, to make Mr. Aaron happy.
Is there a second? Okay, so we're gonna continue to June 21st. I think the applicant is knowledgeable as to what the commission wants from him, and we're here to assist you if you want it, and if you want to do it on your own, please be free to do that way, but I would suggest that you involve Lance and Jeff.
may I just put one more thing on the record?
Yes,
Scott, you're mine. Nobody else is gonna be dealing with you. I know you've dealt with like 4 or 5 different staff over the years.
That's the other thing, Lance.
You were
know,
just me now.
In 4 years this has been going on, I've been 4 different wetlands guys, 4 different town managers. Everybody that comes on board, I gotta get a new survey for. I spent $22,000 in surveys. For what? Nobody in the board even looked at it tonight.
I looked at the
We
survey, I
did
see
see
what's
it.
going on there. It's clear what's occurring.
I've never
on the
tried to
property.
hide anything, I've
No,
always
you
invited
definitely
everybody
haven't
up.
hid anything, no.
okay, thank you very much. As I indicated at the very beginning of the meeting, that if the representative from the town, from the engineers on a project at 212,
We're good?
yes,
Thank you.
have a good night. At 212, yes, West Wakefield Boulevard, come in. Tom, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Tom Grimaldi, principal engineer at R. Hooper Engineers, representing the town to oversee the project at 212 West Wakefield Boulevard. I submitted Yeah, I have
Printed
it,
out.
yes, thank
It
you.
should be in their
Oh,
package.
these are probably in color. Oh, nice. I submitted a report dated May 11th, talking about my visits for the excavation dewatering of the lower piers. And when those were backfilled, the upper foundation walls, I've been at the site since this letter was written 2 more times. I was there on the 12th for inspection of the excavation, the upper excavation for the walls, which did not need dewatering. And I was there for the pour last Thursday for the footings. I understand, speaking with Mr. Lasky, that the walls were formed
Today.
today. And they're gonna be poured, I believe, tomorrow or Friday,
I think it's tomorrow at 2.
tomorrow.
Are the walls in the proper location?
Yes.
Everything's been staked by the land surveyor, all elevations have been verified.
Okay.
The next phase, which I think is gonna be critical again, is once the panels, the forms are stripped, they have to sit for a few days before he backfills. Once he backfills, he's gonna get it back to its original condition, backfill with the on-site material, put the riprap back the way it was there existing. And then he's gonna start the northern section of the wall. But I asked him to start at the lowest section down in the water where the stairs actually go into the water. He's gonna start there, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna be dewatering that area as well. And then he's gonna work his way back, and as he gets closer to the road, it gets pretty dry. And he's put large concrete blocks in to hold back the walls and everything. He's got blocks up on the road as well for traffic control. The blocks are mostly off the road. I think they're about a foot on the road. He has signage. So far, everything's been running smooth. I did tell him after everything was completed and everything was backfilled and the riprap was put in place, I would ask them to coordinate with the lake specialist that did the original survey of the lake bottom and moved the mussels that were in that area. So I would like to be out there for that, to meet with the lake specialist, see exactly what he wants. I'm sure there's gonna be some handwork that needs to be completed in the lake bottom. And of course, erosion and sedimentation control measures at that point would need to be removed. And then, once the lake bed specialist is happy, then they can start slowly letting water in, let it equalize. And then the Porta Dam divers will come back in, because I told them that they were not allowed to cut the sandbags and leave the sand in the lake and just leave everything, because that happens a lot. So their divers are coming back to remove all the sandbags that have been installed in the lake.
What kind of time frame do you think this is going to be?
Well, he's hoping to excavate sometime, let's see, I talked to Frank this morning, I think he's hoping to backfill the existing walls by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and then get right on to excavating. So I'm hoping by the end of next week, Thursday or Friday, I'm out there for the excavation.
So the end of next week is basically Memorial Day weekend.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
so he wants to get everything backfilled on the south side, move the concrete blocks to protect the north side, get that excavated, get the stone in so that they can start forming for the footings. So I think he wants to have that done prior to Memorial Day weekend.
The concrete blocks that are on the street level, where are they gonna be put?
Those are gonna remain there, we're just gonna move them from the south side where the excavation is now. Once it's backfilled, I'm gonna have them move those north.
What's their purpose?
Traffic control, make sure nobody drives off
Oh,
into the ditch.
okay, because I was there today, and I just couldn't figure out what they were gonna do with them.
Yeah,
Also-
and he also does have, so the ones that are in the excavation will be pulled out as he's backfilled. And then those will be used for the northern excavation up against the road. And, the ones that are on the road will remain there.
So sometime after Memorial Day, that whole pumping system that exists now will be removed?
It'll be after Memorial Day, when exactly, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I can give you an update before the next meeting.
Okay,
I'll give
good.
you another report before
Good.
the next meeting.
And you reviewed, just for the purpose of the commission, all of the reports that were submitted by their people, and you were satisfied that there was no language in it or anything, it
No, so
was
far,
accurate?
They've been doing a great job, and any comments or recommendations I have, they've been adhering to it. I haven't gotten any pushback at all.
Okay.
So actually, they've been a pleasure to work with. So,
I think the one thing you're gonna have to watch when they go to take the silt sack out, you know, generally a silt sack stays up on top of the road where it's dry all the way around. They have it down in the lake, not a good practice, because that could rupture taking it out, so they're gonna have to be
yeah,
really
I
careful.
think what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take a look at that silt sack, I'm gonna inspect it. If it's really loaded, I'm gonna make them take it out and put a new silt sack in for
Right.
the next section, because they're cheap, so you
Right.
can, it's not a big
Right,
deal.
but the biggest concern.
Yeah, I don't want
They
that
rip the
rupturing
sand
as he's
Yeah.
taking it out, I don't have to deal with all of that.
Right now, it's
That
half
original-
underwater.
That original plan called for that silt sack to be running along the edge of the road, you know what I mean, and it leaches out of the bag, now they got it down in the lake.
It's in the water, part of it is in the water.
Yeah, he's
No,
got
I-
it upslope of, so he has silt fence backed with straw wattle, and then in front of that, he has sandbags. I had him put sandbags in front, just to hold everything in place. But I will do that. I'll ask him to remove it, now that we're done dewatering, and put a new one in for the new section, so we don't run that risk. And then I'll discuss it with him on how he wants to remove it, so that we don't run the risk of a rupture in there.
Can they install the new one and let the other one sort of dry out?
Not where it is, it's in the water.
Not where it
Water,
is,
not where it is.
yeah.
Gotta come out, okay.
And my biggest concern is, it's on the lake bottom. It's fairly dry where it is, it's a little bit north of where the excavation was. But just upslope of that is all riprap, so I don't want it
It's full, you're
dragging
gonna
that
rip it.
thing
Can't
across
drag it,
the
you gotta
riprap.
lift it.
Yeah.
Very,
So
very
we're gonna have to look at, maybe I'll get a couple straps, we'll tie it, strap it, pick it up,
bag it.
put it in
Bag
you could put it in a loader bucket and take it out. But all the concrete, leftover concrete, when they clean out the trucks and everything, they're doing that across the street. They had a huge stockpile of material from the excavation. So, I had to make a depression in it, and they're doing a washout for the concrete trucks in there, which I have pictures of the actual washout, so I'll add that in my next report, for next month. And just keep you updated that way.
Anybody? I think, on a personal perspective, from where we started a month ago to now, I think we've accomplished a great deal in managing and sort of overseeing what's going on. And I think, as Tom has said, the personnel from their side has been, I think, cooperative. They're open to suggestions. It seems as though the project is moving along very smoothly now. It's too bad that, it had to come to that a month ago, but we are where we are.
And I would just like to follow up one comment. So Frank Lasky, who is the site manager, he has actually spoken with a lot of the public to explain what's going on that had an interest in the cofferdam.
Yeah.
And so I would agree, they're doing a very nice job with their outreach part as well. They take the time to speak with the public. And anytime we've had an issue, he's at the site within an hour. I text or call him.
And I've asked, again, Tom to stay with the project until they're at least out of the water. And then we can talk to the town to see how long we need to have Tom when the house is being constructed. But I certainly don't want him to have to leave prior to the facility or the water part not being completed. Any other comments or something?
I think one thing I wanted to add, and I put it in my report, the fact that Frank got permission to pour those
Prefab.
monolithic columns and footings off-site, they had to use a higher strength concrete with a high early mixture that could be at 3,300 PSI in 3 days. It's Aaron trained, they went the extra mile, and it saved a good week of dewatering, constant dewatering of muddy water. So that was a big deal. This time around, everything is cast in place, so those lower stairs are gonna be cast in place. So this one's gonna be a little bit trickier on the north north side, but it's not quite far as down into the water as the piers are. It's a little bit upslope.
And you'll be present during the pouring?
I will. Yeah. So Frank, I coordinate with him. He calls me 2 or 3 times a week early in the morning, and we have a quick discussion, and we coordinate times and dates for me to be out there.
Lance, anything?
I think that's very accurate.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much for taking the time to come here.
You're welcome.
And your reports are in everybody's packet, so they know what you were talking
So
about.
what would be the date for the next report? When would be that? By June?
21st of June. June
21st of June will be the next meeting, correct?
So you
If
want it-
have something.
When do you want it, 10 days before?
We pick up 10 day, a week before, the Wednesday before our regular meeting. We'll give the office staff here time to replicate it and put it in our packets, because we usually pick up our packets usually Friday night or Saturday.
So if I have it 2 weeks before on a Wednesday?
Well, I don't want it too premature where there's a gap between when you give us the report and our meeting. So if you could time your report to be like the beginning of the week before our meeting, so that by that Wednesday or Thursday, Lance and his staff have it,
Okay.
and it can be reproduced for our packets that'll be available to be picked up usually on Friday night or Saturday, the earliest.
Right, can you send me that date,
Yeah.
Lance?
And I owe you some other stuff, so we'll touch base
Yeah,
soon.
that's fine. Yeah, call me anytime.
Don't think I haven't forgotten you.
No problem.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thanks, Tom.
All right, Tom, thank you for coming, appreciate it. Okay. Let's go back to our regular agenda. Next item is 23-11, Lee Tenney and Rachel Tenney. Mr. Tenney is here, 411 Wasteful Boulevard. It's a 10-foot by 30-foot aluminum dock on an existing pier. For the record, introduce yourself, please.
Lee Tenney.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Oh, you want to bring us up to date, because when we left the last time, my recollection was that you were not sure whether you were going to order the dock, not order the dock, continue with the application.
Yes, I was able to reschedule the delivery and the installation.
Okay, so you're ready to go with approval?
Yes, sir.
That's my understanding then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me just get my papers. Was there any other concerns that we had last month that Mr. Tenney should be addressing tonight?
I don't think so.
I
No,
don't
it
think
was
so
mostly a
either. I didn't see
timing- it was
anything
mostly
on
a timing
my,
issue.
my notes. Mr. Tenney, your property is how wide?
I believe it's 180, 179.
And I'm looking at the proposal on your survey. The steps that are in the water now where the dock is,
Yes.
you're not touching that.
No, that's permanent.
And where will you be putting you're gonna put the dock on top of, the new dock on top of the old dock, basically?
The piling right now, we refer to it as a submarine in a somewhat joking fashion because it bellows out on both sides, and then there's the flat part on top. So 3 of the 6x10s will cover the entire flat part and the side part of the bellow. but it won't cover the entire because it's too wide and it would require it to be wider than typical. So the tiling that's on there now will have 3 of the 6x10s. And then at the very end, if you recall one of the pictures, how the piling has, if you could see this one, the metal built into the cement, which the other dock pieces prior to that were applied for, permitted, and granted would have been attached to. 2 of the pieces will be in the water. So the piling in its entirety will be covered, but the dock surface that I'm seeking approval for will not be limited to the surface of the piling. I'm trying to choose my words properly. It's a little convoluted. In a perfect world, I'd love to cover the whole thing so nobody falls off the left or the right, but I have to pick a side, so I'm picking the right side.
And the intention is to remove the dock at the winter, pull it out of the water?
2 of the sections, yes. 3 of the sections that are on it, I'll simply remove the poles because the actual dock will be adhered to the cement.
Okay, when this dock is going to be installed, there's not gonna be any machinery in the lake bed or anything like that? People are gonna go into the water or on the dock and work from the top down,
That's correct.
but no machinery whatsoever?
No machinery whatsoever.
Okay.
I could physically do it if I had the pieces. I'm just having them do it so that it's warranted.
Okay. Anybody? Jeff, anybody?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I remember I did a site visit there. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with it.
Anybody? Good. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept, to approve 23-11. Standard restrictions, no bond needed.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of approval? Everybody except Jackie, and she abstains? Okay? Okay, thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you. Have a pleasant evening.
Next item on the agenda is actually the town of Winchester. Again, the applicant is Lance Hanson. It's the point location with the pavilion, and the applicant has asked to continue to June 21st. Is there a motion to that effect that we continue?
We just made it, I'll second it.
Okay, Russ, I made it, Russell seconded. All those in favor of continuing it? It's unanimous? Okay. Next application, now we begin new business. The applicant is Robert Bates and Tracy Bates, 428 East Wakefield Boulevard. Double jet ski lift, a 3-foot walkway, and a use of the lake water for a sprinkler system. Now, Mr. Bates, this is a modification from an existing permit, or this is, because that's what it says here, it's a modification? Lance, is it?
No, I believe it's new.
This is new.
Yeah. I know we've seen them a few times, but
I know that. but-
this is a new.
So it's
new
not a
application.
modification?
No.
No, this is all new.
You know who made the comments on the application?
Well, didn't you just, we approved the shed and the walls and all
I
that
was here
stuff?
before to take care of
Well, that was a
things that were,
modification.
that were
Oh, okay.
pending. This is all new. I didn't want to mix things up.
Okay. Do we know why?
I'm gonna lean towards an error, unfortunately, because we've seen Mr. Bates a few times.
Okay, so for the records, this is not a modification, this is a standalone application, and its number is 23-14. Okay, would you tell us what you'd like to do?
Well, before we start, first of all, thank you, everyone. But on a personal note, you mentioned Pam earlier, and I wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation of Pam certainly over the past year. Pam and others with the town have been very helpful. She did help me with this drawing that is attached to the application, because my attempts at being to scale were kindergarten-like, and she even gave me she made a copy of, for future reference, the ruler that you guys used, so she was very helpful. What brings me here tonight is we have 2 jet skis that have been dry docked at the marina, and now that we're approaching the end of our project, we want to put them in the water in front of our property. The marina at Highland Lake is where we're gonna buy it and install, and Eric at the marina is ready to go. He's just waiting for what happens tonight. Oh, the drawing, the way we made it, just, if you need to know, I had to take 2 surveys from Mr. DeCara, because my as-built that you guys saw at the last meeting did not have the boat lift and the floating dock, because when Mr. DeCara was there, they weren't in the water. So this is a compilation of September 2020 and August 2022, which I have here if you need to see them. But everything is to scale, is the point I'm trying to get at. As I said, the jet ski lift is from the marina. I am not able to find a picture of it, but I have it, Eric circled it for me. It's a 1200 PWC lift. I have the brochure if anybody needs it. The location is a best approximation. That is I have a deep waterfront, or whatever it's called. That is the shallowest area, so the best location for the jet ski lift, and it is a sufficient distance from the property line. I think that covers the jet ski lift. The access to the water, or to the lake water for sprinkler.
Before you go on to that, with the boat lift, you're also asking for a walkway to get onto the jet ski?
Yes.
Jet skis.
Yeah, that's in here too. It's,
It's aluminum prefab?
yeah, it's also from the marina.
And it's 3 feet wide?
Eric told me it's 3 feet by 10 feet.
That's what your application says.
Anything else? in-
Diagram says 4 by 12.
No,
That's for the
you're looking over
boat?
here.
That's the boat lift.
That's no, I think the green is what he's talking about, Jeff.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
green is the jet ski lift.
Right.
The dock for
Okay.
the boat lift is 4 by 12, but I was told this would be 3 by 10. I haven't seen it.
What is the boat lift dimension?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
The boat lift dimension.
Well, that's in already, right?
I don't
That's
know.
already been approved.
I don't,
Yeah.
I've had that since 2015, I believe, and
Well,
that was just,
Yeah, but we still need to know the dimensions.
let's see.
Otherwise, we won't have the total.
He's got 100, he's got so much property that it doesn't, no, I know, I looked at that already. Usually they're 10 feet wide, so it's 14 feet, and 16 is 30,
It's 10 by 12.
30, 33, and, I don't know, 8 feet, 40 feet. The question, the reason why Jackie asked the question is because each property, we look at the overall width of your waterfront, and then our statute says that, or ordinance says that you can only occupy half of that width. So you have 140 some odd feet of property, you said?
No, we have 121.98
Okay,
feet.
so if you exceeded 60 feet of usage, then you'd be close, but you're not. Your boat lift is probably 10 feet wide? That's what they are,
It's
pretty
10
standard.
I don't know the width of the pontoon boat, but I know that in
Yeah.
order for me to park that thing, I have 6 inches clearance on each side.
Okay. And your floating dock is 16 feet. When you come back next month, we're gonna accept your application.
Okay,
just fill in the dimensions of all of the waterfront stuff, the width of it.
Okay.
You know, the length of the dock going out you have. The new dock, it's on your application, but put it on this piece of paper.
Oh, all right.
So the green should have a 3 foot by 10, and the width of the jet ski lift. And then we need the width of your boat lift. Okay?
Okay.
Your littoral boundaries are marked, so that's not a concern of ours. All right?
No problem.
All right, now talk to us about the sprinkler system.
We want to use the sprinklers because we intend to, we get a lot of sun. I mean, the sun just bakes it there, and we're going to sod the yard. And then my understanding, that's also ready to go, is that it's nothing more than a tube going into the lake. It'll be in the area of the shed, and it will have whatever. My contractor, Don LaPointe, has someone who's going to do it. I forgot the gentleman's name. He's done it before. It's my understanding that, you know, fish and everything else is protected from the way it's in. It will not remain in. You know, it'll only go in when the sprinklers are in use.
So it's just a pipe over the wall?
It's a
Just
what?
a pipe
It's a,
over the wall?
it's a flexible hose, basically. I think he said it's half an inch, but I didn't write that down.
Is that something we can get some more, we'd probably want to see some more, just some hard specs on what exactly it is. You may have,
You know, you're going to have to go out a certain distance into the lake, maybe 10, 12 feet, and suspend that pipe because you don't want it on the lake bed, only because you're gonna suck in mud when it goes on.
It's my understanding, and I'll get clarity on this. Right off my wall, it's about 5 feet deep. So I don't even think.
You're not even gonna go that far.
He's only going down the lake 2 feet.
What's that?
He's just gonna drop 2 feet. That's it.
Depends
Yeah.
on how they, you know.
Yeah, in front of the shed where the jet ski lift is supposed to be, it is at least 5 feet, maybe more.
Okay.
yeah, I think I'd like to just see some specs on it, what it is really, you know, what are we talking about? How big of a pipe, what the pump is, just so we know what we're dealing with. I think we've required that from other
Yeah.
homeowners to have
Okay.
these there's a few around, there's not too
Yeah,
many, are
I
there?
have one, yeah.
Okay, you have one, all right.
And just some language that talks about when they trench out the sprinkler system pipes in the ground, you know, how, you know, you're gonna basically dig up the ground and put the pipe in and bury the ground.
Drilling it,
Just some language talking about that, how they're gonna propose it.
or they drilling it through without any excavation.
It's my understanding of the sprinkler system in the yard, there's no pipes, it's flexible hose.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying, they can drill it on the ground rather than excavating, is what I'm saying.
But yeah, it's not very, from my understanding, it's not very deep, and
Right.
it's all dirt right there now that hasn't been landscaped yet, so there's gonna
So
be
you're
very.
gonna lay it on top of the dirt and put the topsoil on top of that and sod down, or? that's-
Yes, no, there's gonna be some topsoil added and the sod after the
Installation.
sprinklers.
Just give us some detail on how you're gonna do it, okay? And the precautions you're going to take, if any, or if any are needed, to protect the, you know, silt and runoff into the lake. And there may be none. It may be reasonable to assume that, you know, there's gonna be no digging.
Precautions for while it's being installed?
Yeah.
Or, okay, I didn't know if you meant, okay,
Yeah.
because right now there's a silt fence up, that's been up for a while,
Maybe leave it up.
but I'll mention the silt fence.
Leave it up until you're done.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
Do you have any, plans for, putting anything along your wall?
Putting-
We recommend that you put something.
Oh, I do want to, after spending the money on sod, I want to keep the geese off. So yes, I've seen, I've read and I've seen the recommended plantings for right off. Yes, that's going to be part of the final landscaping.
Any concerns? All right, is there a motion to accept this application?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept, application IWWC 23-14 for 428 East Wakefield Boulevard for Robert and Tracy Bates for for 2 wave runner lifts, with a deck and a use of the lake as a water source for sprinklers.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there a need for a public hearing?
No.
Anybody? Okay, all right, all those in favor of accepting this application without a public hearing? All right, unanimous? Okay, see you next month?
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Likewise. Okay. The next application is 23-15, Katrina Korolov and Atlas Technical Consultants. The owner is Cumberland Farms Incorporated. The location is 115 Main Street, and it's the removal of an underground storage tank. It's one tank.
No, there's 3. It's the entire tank system. It'll be the 3 tanks, all of the piping and the dispensers on the island.
Okay, so
And the
let's
canopy.
just slow down. So it's 3 tanks and the pumping systems is what you?
Yes, the dispensing system.
And the building staying?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, you want to talk to us about the project, please?
Sure, did you want to go ahead?
Sure, why not? Kevin Noel with SRS Petroleum. We've been hired by Cumberland Farms as a contractor to perform the removal of the existing canopy footings, the 3 8,000-gallon fiberglass underground gasoline tanks, the 4 dispensers, and all the piping associated with that entire system. We'll do site demolition, remove the concrete, existing pavement required to excavate the tank tops, remove all the piping. We will perform on-site cleaning of the tanks using a licensed vac truck company. We'll clean the tanks on-site, they're fiberglass. We'll take them and dispose of them into on-site dumpsters, and then we'll take them off for disposal. Cumberland Farms will have their environmental consultant come in, collect tank closure samples to determine if there's been a release of any petroleum into the ground or the groundwater. They'll make the determination. If they determine that there is, then there'll be some sort of remediation activity. But after, say, if there's nothing, no impacts, then SRS will backfill the excavation to subgrade, compacting everything, and then we will restore and pave the disturbed area with new bituminous pavement. And that's basically the extent of the project.
Approximately how long from beginning to end, if you don't run into problems?
If I run into problems, probably 2 weeks. It'd only take us like probably 3 days to, probably 4 days, 5 days to remove canopy, remove the tanks and backfill the subgrade. And the only thing the SRS Petroleum doesn't do is pave, so then we have to coordinate with our paving subcontractor to come in and install the paving to the store grade.
The tanks are empty now, or?
The tanks have been pumped down, they're not empty. We will, typically the submersible pumps can only pump down to about 6 inches, so it's about 6 inches left. We'll come in with the vac truck, we'll pump them out so that there's nothing in it, we'll tip them, we'll pressure wash them, and then we'll dispose of them.
And the only thing the tank contains is gasoline?
Correct. There's 3 8,000-gallon double-wall fiberglass tanks.
Anybody?
Sounds correct.
Is there anything else that we'd like to know about the project while this?
Your erosion control program.
What's that, Gary?
Erosion control program for digging it out, you have masses of dirt piled, right? What are we doing around the piles, what are we doing?
Right, so typically, we stockpile the material on impervious areas, the other areas that are paved on site. We will cover the, if left overnight, we say will be for a couple days, we'll cover them with poly, so that if we do get any precipitation, any runoff wouldn't hit the soil piles directly. We typically, we could put filt fabric or silt sacks in if there's any catch basin immediately adjacent to our work area, mitigate any type of silt or anything like that getting into the storm system.
Gary, what about those hay things that you introduced a couple of months ago? I forgot what you call them.
Well, that would be straw wattles, but the wattles have to be secured down. You're better off in a situation like this running with hay bales or something, so that doesn't, what do you usually use?
We just
To
cover it
secure
with
the
poly.
pile.
Normally it happens pretty quick, a couple days. So we cover it with poly, and then once we get the green light, it's backfilled and compacted. So it's typically only a couple days, but we can certainly put straw wattles, or we can use hay bales to surround the soil piles, the soil piles after, and cover them with poly. So we can certainly do that if that's a concern, because reason why we're here, right? Because we're close
Well,
to.
I guess the major concern would be, you're better off to put the straw wattles around it. If you dig it out and you get any contamination, because you're gonna test it to start with, that takes a few days. If anything comes back, it doesn't go out like that, right? It's gonna sit for a
Right.
little bit.
Correct.
So-
I don't anticipate finding any contamination. We have done some assessment work out there. But if we do, we would come back at a different time. We wouldn't dig out and put a huge pile out there and leave it out there until we got,
Well, I think, I would recommend straw wattles. It's not a big expense around the bottom of your piles, secured piles.
Is there an agreement on that?
Yeah, so I believe, we'll bring, pallet of straw wattles with us, as we, each night after we demobilize it, we'll make sure the straw wattles go around the soil pile, covered with poly, and the next day we'll pull the wattles back, pull the poly off, and continue with our excavation. And I think, they will do some, field screening to determine if they're, if they get hits and say, Kevin, it looks like, we may have an issue here, we may leave some of that material stockpiled separately. But if they don't see anything, then we would backfill, all right, to get everything back in the hole. And then we know the limits of the excavation, so after we get the analytical from the lab, then, they're gonna say, hey, listen, we think we got a spot here we wanna go back after. We'll re-excavate and go back after, certain spots should we find something or areas where are concerned that they wanna stockpile and potentially dispose of as contaminated.
Yeah, I like the idea of having erosion control around the piles, just because sometimes you get a major storm and it rains heavy. It's just, to me, it's cheap insurance upon runoff that's gonna go in on, even though it's a state road. And you are next to a water course there. I'd like to see that happen.
That'd be a condition. They've
As a
agreed to it, so
condition,
there's
yeah.
no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do
All
that.
right, do we need a public hearing?
Cleaning the town up.
Well, the town has the property next to it, right? Or the big building there. That owns the property there, that'd be the only other.
Nope, not town land. That is actually
Oh,
owned by
that's
Mr.
leased
Nader.
from Nader, so it is something that's work occurring next to his property, but.
I don't think the town owns any property there.
Right, I thought the town owned, that is Nader's property, I thought it was the
Yeah,
town
no,
property,
no.
we just use it or lease it or something.
He keeps it like the town does.
Yeah. Someday.
Any other, so no public hearing, we're good?
I don't think so.
Okay, we're gonna accept your application tonight, which is
Okay.
protocol. You'll come back before us. Chances are that we're not gonna ask you any more questions because you've answered everything.
All right.
And our procedure would then be to vote on approval, and you'll let Lance know when you're going to begin. The only thing I'd like to add is before you backfill, that Lance be present or a wetlands agent be present to look at that report before you close the hole up, to make sure every area was addressed.
Address how? From the wetland standpoint?
Yeah, well, for possible contamination.
Okay.
You don't expect any, and neither are
Right.
we.
We've had, we just did a job similar to this in Torrington where the Connecticut DEP was present.
Oh,
On
okay.
site, he may not be there, I don't know. And typically we get the local fire official involved in tank removal, so, they may be involved as well once we.
Now, that would be your responsibility to call them or ours?
No, ours, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're right, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
But we can also call.
Yeah, we can let Lance know for
Yeah.
sure, he can certainly, we certainly invite him to that. So we should wait till the next wetlands meeting in order to
Normally,
program?
yeah,
Or
normally
schedule?
with any application, you've sat here for a few of them,
Okay.
anything new that comes before us,
Yeah,
we accept, we talk about it, and we then see if anything else develops in between, which we don't expect now, obviously,
okay,
and then we'll vote next month.
okay.
Okay, and we need to be present, or a representative needs to be present?
I think it makes sense,
I can be
Okay.
present.
just because, I know there was confusion the last couple of months, why no one was here,
Yeah.
but this would have been done already.
Right.
You know, but let's leave that aside.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to accept? No public hearing. Frank, you shaking your head?
Yes.
Make the motion?
I make the motion that we accept, sorry, IWWC 2315 Cumberland Farms at 115 Main Street.
I second it. Just talk about what they want to do, that's all.
Removal of underground tree storage tanks and pumping system.
Okay? Is there a second, Gary? Second. All those in favor of accepting? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. 23-16 is the town of Winchester. The applicant is David Batista, and the location is 118 Colebrook Road, River Road, and it's the rehabilitation of sewer pumping station number 2. For the record, please identify yourselves.
Okay, for the record, Jim Rollins, Director of Public Works, Town of Winchester, and with me is David Batista, engineer from Halley Ward Engineering. While he's setting up the contraption, I'll give you a quick idea, actually, which one is first.
Colebrook Road.
We're doing number 2.
Yes, well, I got a different agenda than you guys do, so I'm just trying to which one. Number 16,
16 comes
118 Colebrook River Road.
Yeah, that's our first.
So, those of you that are familiar with Colebrook River Road, Danfield Thread Building, the old Danfield Thread Building, we have an existing sewer pump station right there that has reached the end of its lifetime. It's 50-something years old, I guess, and it doesn't meet the modern, thank you. It doesn't meet the modern standards, whereas the electrical components are below grade, and any maintenance has to be done below grade where you're in confined space and so forth and so on. The pumps are worn out, they're deep, it's just a really bad system. You know, it was good 50 years ago, but not so much now. So our plan is to put a vacuum prime system on top of the existing manhole that's there, which requires, taking off the top of what's there and dropping these big pumps on top with long tubes that reach down and just suck out the wastewater, and then connecting that to the sewer mains that run the rest of the way to the filtration plant, or the treatment plant. So
Both screens the same?
they will be.
Okay.
So the details of the project, I'll let Dave kind of walk through. The issues here are we are within a floodplain, and we are within, 100 feet of a water course. So that's why we're here, and I'll let Dave take over the actual details of the project and, communicate what we're looking for.
Thank you, Jim. As introduced, I'm Dave Batista from Haley Ward, offices at 140 Willow Street here in town. The first station we're talking about is Pump Station Number 2, located in front of 188 Colebrook River Road. Is it 188? I think 188.
Is that the mic?
Yeah, it was his
Oh, paper. Oh. And so this is a picture of it. We're right near the old Danfield Thread Factory, which is way over here on the left. And this is house, I believe it's 188, but the agenda says 118. I have to double check the assessor's card for this, but you've probably been by this 100 or 1,000 times and not really paid any attention to it. The pump station is right in this area. There's a manhole right behind this do not pass sign out in the grass. The manhole covers flush with the grass, you can't see it. It's a conventional manhole, it's about 16 feet deep or something, and I'll show you some plans in a minute. But sewage comes in from the north, I believe.
Which is to the left of the
to the left, by gravity, into this manhole that's right in this general area. Then it flows from this manhole into another facility right here, which is a manway.
Wet well? A wet well?
Well, the wet well is technically this manhole over here. This is called a dry pit.
Right.
It's a big tube that goes down, 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 down into the ground, and then it opens up into a slightly larger chamber where there are 2 pumps and a manifold piping. So the pumps collect water in by gravity and pressurize the sewage and eject it out in a 6-inch diameter cast iron pipe to the south. So this is what the site looks like. We are going to, on top of this manhole that's out in the grass, we are going to put a pump facility that looks like this. This is going to be mounted right at grade level. We're going to build a concrete slab for this to sit on, flush with the ground. And the 2 pumps are right here. The green is the motors and the pumps are below it. And these pumps will suck water out of that manhole just like you would suck water out of a glass with a straw. And the pumps would then force the sewage out, some piping that goes back down into the manhole about 5 feet and then out into the street. It's a nice facility because it eliminates the confined space entry that the town crew has to do all the time, and it's just unpleasant working 16 to 20 feet below ground in a tin can. Makes you feel like you're in a Mercury space capsule trying to turn wrenches and yell up to people what's going on. So this description, this narrative was included with your packet, explains everything that we want to do and summarize. We're going to have about 2,000 square feet of land disturbance, which is very small. It's slightly bigger than the footprint of a typical house. Between all the site work and excavation we have to do, it's relatively modest. It's all in the upland review zone. There are some wetlands very close to us that are associated with road drainage. I'll show you those when we get to the plans. The town is going to be the general contractor on this job. They're going to do a lot of the work with their own forces, but they'll have to bring in contractors like electricians, probably an excavation contractor to do some of the deeper digging and pipe work, heavy pipe work that we have to do here. But for the most part, the town will be in charge of everything and actively engaged in the construction process.
How about noise compression, now that this is all up on top of the ground?
The pumps are fairly quiet.
Are they? I mean, if they are, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if,
And they're in an enclosure, those pumps.
that's what I'm
have,
saying,
like
that
a doghouse
enclosure
on
will
top
have
of it.
some sort of
Yeah,
noise
it's
abatement?
insulated because it has to be heated in the winter,
Right.
so
All right,
that
just
will
saying.
help. I'm sure you'll be able to hear something, but I don't think it's gonna
I
be,
mean, okay,
you know, driving birds away or
I'm not worried
having
about it,
people
I'm
go.
more noise for the people.
That house that you made reference to earlier,
Yes,
approximately how close is that to the project? Couple hundred feet?
couple hundred feet, yeah.
It's also not a residence, it's a business in that house.
Again, just for the sake of the.
Yeah.
And then that garage behind the pickup truck is just, so the garage behind the pickup truck is just a generator facility. And we will have some trenching running to and from that, just to run the backup generator.
Yeah, we'll look at the plans next.
That's propane driven or,
Yeah.
So,
and that exists now, that generator? Would you, from what you're guessing, the question Frank asked is, would the generator be louder than the installation project of what you're
Oh,
doing?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Actually, I think it's natural gas, right? Yeah, it's natural gas.
Oh, natural
Yeah.
gas.
Yeah. So here are the plans, and I'm gonna try to zoom up here if we can figure out where this is, brand new software for me. Oh, right there, yeah. So I'm gonna make this even bigger. So, this is looking at the site from up
The house?
above, the house is below where Steve's, chair is there.
Right,
And this is the garage right here,
okay.
and I have to turn off these annoying things. If I can figure out how to do that, well, I'll try to work around it. So, some of the work we have to do, well, let me back up one step. There are some local wetlands here that we had delineated back when we did the site plan for that house. My company did that 20 years ago, I think. And so there was wetlands associated. You can see there's drainage coming across Route 8, State Highway, and there's some drainage coming from Danfield Threads driveway. And it gets into a little grass swale. It goes into a culvert underneath the town's driveway to the garage, and it comes back out into another swale. And so those were flagged as wetlands 20 years ago, and we used the same delineation for this project. And you can see we're working in close proximity to wetlands. And I'll talk about erosion control in a little while. So some of the work we have to do, we have to excavate a trench and put 5 different conduits in. One of them is for a new power service that will come from this red telephone pole down to the garage, and then 4 going out back to the pump station, which are power and alarm circuits that will feed the pump station. Those will be underground. We're gonna excavate the trench, probably 3 feet deep roughly, put the conduits in and backfill it, and they'll patch over with hot mix asphalt in the driveway. Over here, here's where the new pump will be above ground, and we have to put a guardrail system in to protect the facility when we're done. And I'll move down to the next.
You doing anything on the force main?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Well, let's talk about it. It's right here, at a bigger scale. So
What was
this
the
is,
question, Frank?
The force main, is
Yeah.
that included in the contract?
yes, so that's this black
Line.
line right here. Right now, the force main goes from the dry pit right here and over to a force main manhole, which is right in their driveway. So this is one of the challenges with this project is building it while keeping the old station in service. It's kind of like building a new foundation underneath an existing house. Pain in the neck, but you can do it. So this has to be built in small pieces, and the town and I will have to think through the construction sequence very carefully so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and take something out before it's time. So we're gonna build a lot of this work, and it won't be in service. And then at the last minute, the town will shut the old pump station down, set up what's called a bypass sewage pumping from an upstream manhole. They'll put pumps in, they'll pump it to the next manhole available, which is up near the veterans, not the veterans, VFW. Yeah, that's where the force main ends, right just north of the VFW, and then a gravity sewer picks up from there and goes all the way down to the next pump station that we'll talk about later. So we have we show silt fence. We're gonna clear some area right near the road for staging, and we're also going to have another staging area over here. And we have a black line here called GSF, that's geotextile silt fence. So there'll be a silt fence on the down gradient side of all our work for the duration of the project. We're moving a telephone pole from right here to right here to make way for the project. And we talked about the force main. And the only other excavation that will occur is right here at this manhole, where we're gonna put the new pump station. That manhole is shaped like a conventional manhole in that it's cylindrical for much of its depth, except near the top, it's cone shaped. It goes from maybe 5-foot diameter to 2-foot diameter at the top, so that the manhole cover is just fits in and support it. So we have to remove that cone. We're gonna go down about 6 feet, so there'll be a 6-foot hole right there. And then put in new precast concrete manhole risers, 6-foot diameter. And those will become the new pump station. And the straws that go down from the above-grade pump station down into the sewage below will go down through those new manhole risers and through the old bottom half of the manhole. So most of the excavation will occur right here, and then a little bit for these conduits and for the force main. Jim's assistant, Bart Clark, the town's project coordinator, estimated a 4-month construction duration here. Really, if this were being built from scratch, it would go a lot faster, but because we have to wait for poles to be relocated, we have to wait for subcontractors to be able to show up, we have to wait for the pump station to actually arrive from, it's being manufactured now, right? So there's a lot of start and stops inside of this 4-month period. And the silt fence will stay up for the
You
duration.
made just a statement before where you're gonna stockpile on the wetland side of that black line to the right in there.
Right here?
No, down right above, right there, yeah, right in that area.
No, not gonna touch that. It's private property. Everything, this big black line here is a state highway right-of-way line,
Where are you gonna stockpile though?
right here.
A little bit right there, and then
That's
And then,
another area.
and then we have another one over here,
That's what I thought.
next to the driveway.
Okay, that is sure.
Yeah, and we have silt fence all around that.
So you're not going anywhere near wetlands?
Well, we're close. You know, that might be,
12 feet.
not even, because
We're
how
that
wide's
close.
your driveway? Your driveway's 12 feet right here,
Yeah,
right?
so it's
So
like
8 feet, yeah. But, you know, if you look at a 6-foot diameter hole, 6 feet deep, it's not that much soil. And you'll probably send that away anyway, because we're
Yeah.
gonna backfill it with
More than likely, you're
gravel.
gonna take that right into a truck and get it off-site, because it's a congested site to begin with.
Yeah, and we'll put the manhole sections in and backfill it with gravel that gets imported.
When are you planning on beginning?
When do you think these stations are coming?
I wanna say they were scheduled to come in July, I think
Yeah.
the delivery date.
So really, I think the town would like to get started soon with whatever they can do to be ready for when those stations come in, then they can just set them right
So
away.
the phasing of that is to really get the new pole put in, so that the old one can be discontinued. Then you run all your utilities. The electricians are already working and getting their parts, because they've gotta put all their generator bypass parts in and put up a whole new panel on the inside of that building. So we'll get all our new stuff in before we take that out. Once we get that new stuff in, then the old pole can come out and we can, well, actually, the old pole won't come out until after we're done, I guess.
Right.
Actually, no, we're gonna move the wires over.
They're gonna have to move the wires, they'll probably do it when they put the pole in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
You're not talking about anything being done prior to approval, are you?
There might be work inside the garage, and that's all just internal work, but. short of
Electrician
that- Yeah,
stuff.
electrician work,
But no
But-
digging on the outside.
yeah.
And is there any possibility, or what's the possibility of interrupting the sewer flow when you do what you had to do to bypass this catch basin, or whatever? You said you're gonna divert it down somewhere?
Right, the bypass piping, are you gonna hire that out, or are you guys gonna try to do that yourself?
You know, we haven't really decided that yet. We've got bypass piping, made specifically for that. It's especially for the Highland Lake grinder pump system, so if something catastrophic went wrong, we can go from one manhole,
Yeah, right,
we're gonna
right.
have to go all the way to another one. So we have it. Whether we do it or we subcontract it out, really depends. We'll probably, I don't know what we'll use for a pump. We haven't really decided that part of it yet. But it's essentially a pipe that will run from manhole to manhole and just bypass this area.
And hopefully that will be a relatively short period. They're gonna design a construction sequence to minimize that bypass period because it's a pain in the neck and it costs money. So, it's in the town's best interest to keep it short and sweet. So we'll try to build as much as we can, and then when they're ready to cut over, then they'll cut the new pipe in and, to the force main and get the station going. And once that's tested and proven that it's gonna work, then they can take the bypass out.
Frank, anything?
Could you use that manhole that's downstream of the proposed station to use, put a submersible pump in there to sort of take the load off when you're killing the submersible pumps in the original station and putting the new pumps in?
Well, the pumps are they're in this facility right here. This is the dry pit,
Right.
right? So, and that dry pit is connected by force main through this
Well, to say,
manhole.
make that dry pit a wet well
Well,
and
but
use
then
that as your bypass pumping.
How do you connect the discharge piping from that temporary configuration to this force main and tie the new force main in to the force main? You can't do it without.
From the gravity side, the real challenge, everything should be all set and ready to go. It's just that the new force main coming from the new
New
pumps
pump, right.
has to be tied into the new
New
force
pump,
main.
right.
So we just, for that brief amount of time where it takes to cut the pipe, make the connection, that's what we need to bypass
Okay.
for. It could
Right.
be as little as a half a
If not
day,
day,
or it
or-
could be a couple of days of
Yeah.
actual effort if things don't go perfectly smooth.
Right.
Any other questions or concerns from the commission?
No, the design is a good design.
Frank, I didn't hear you.
I said the design is a good design.
Okay.
You know,
Um,
here's what it looks like from the side. This is the existing station. So sewage comes in from the north, drops into this manhole, and when liquid level in this manhole reaches this upper line right here, the pumps go on and drains down the sewage until it hits this next line down, at which time the pumps shut off.
Is
So
there
it's-
any I'm sorry. go
Yeah,
ahead.
all day long this is going on. Every couple minutes, the pumps go on, send sewage up toward the VFW for a minute, and then the pump shut off.
Is there any regular maintenance that has to take place with this project? Once it's completed?
The current pump stations are checked twice a week, every week. They check hours, they check for operation, they check, temperatures, they listen for sound, they make sure there's flow, they open them up, make sure there's, nothing backing them, clogging them up. The new ones will get the same, twice a week treatment. We're expecting it to be a lot less maintenance because it's designed for modern systems where,
Yeah.
well, the biggest problem we have here is flushable, quote, flushable wipes, which are, hell on wheels. People drop those in, they clog the old pumps. These pumps are a little better at handling those. So we should have a little bit less, real maintenance, but the preventive maintenance will be the same.
Right,
Is
so,
the next phase of is the next group of this, the next pump is identical? The mechanics of it, or is it just?
yes, yeah, the two
Just a
applications we
slightly different
submitted,
site.
just,
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
The other one is deeper than this. This one's 620 to 634. This is 636. This is about 15 feet deep. The other one's about 20 feet deep.
Okay.
And so, this is just a side view of the proposed condition. This is the manhole risers that we have to put in. The pump station's gonna be up on the ground surface. And we're gonna cut down the manway below grade and just leave it there. And we're gonna leave this tin can in the ground and fill it with flowable cement. We talked about removing it, but it's, 15, 20 feet of deep excavation would be required to get rid of it, and we're right next to a state highway. So we just figured we'd abandon it in place and fill it.
And we're not really dealing with any groundwater movement in this area, it's fairly flat. All right.
One more thing. use whatever traffic protection battalions, steel piers in front.
course, yeah, they're-
Because
well,
next week it becomes a target.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, we had to go through DOT to get their recommendations on what they wanted there.
And just to let you know, we have a detailed erosion control I'm not gonna go through the whole thing now, but we, took up a full sheet of engineering paper here to come up with an erosion control plan that the town will have to follow. A lot of this is turf establishment and growing grass properly, probably a good third of it, but.
And who makes sure the town follows that?
You did that.
No, I mean, do you have on site, I mean, how does that
Yeah,
work? Is that
we-
something that's overseen by Lance, or?
We're intimately involved
Yeah.
in the day-to-day,
Lance,
construction of
we do-
this, and we will keep, we'll keep the town informed, when we start, like any other wetlands application, so they know what's going on.
Lance, do we need this application reviewed by an independent engineer? First question.
Honestly, I don't think they'd tell you anything different, to be very blunt.
Okay. And second question is, do we need an engineer on site to oversee the project from from,
A wetlands perspective?
yeah.
There's no,
Again, just, these are
There's no
basic
wetlands.
questions, you don't have to be, say yes or no.
I'm gonna say no then,
Okay,
if
good.
you're asking, thank you.
And last question, do we need a public hearing?
It's a benefit to the town. I don't think you need a public hearing.
Well, it's not about the benefit of town, public hearing is about for public interest.
Yeah,
and
public
ultimately
interest.
Public
it's
hearings
not
for
about-
public interest, but it's based on wetlands.
Yeah.
There is no wetlands.
Right,
And
so-
when
Well,
we-
there
Yeah.
is, there is, but,
Well,
you know,
it's, you gotta.
and they're here before us
It's a
because
minor, to me,
they're
it's
here before us because there are wetlands. So if there were no wetlands, wouldn't be here. So consensus is that we do not need a public hearing?
Correct.
Jackie?
No.
Okay.
I've received no questions about it, so I can't
Again,
imagine.
No, I wanna make sure we do our due diligence.
Yeah, my feeling has always been, I don't want the town
Coming back.
to be put on a pedestal where we make exceptions because it's the town, so to speak. So I just ask the right questions and get the right answers, that's all.
I think, we're not presumptive here. I mean, we put a lot of effort into these plans.
And we believe it.
Much more than you normally get for an application for something.
You charge more, come on.
I know, of course I do.
No.
But, I mean, this is a legitimate bona fide set of plans.
I love when the controls are above ground.
All right, is there a motion to accept?
Yes.
Make the motion, please.
Okay, let me get back to that one. Sorry. Okay. IWWC 23-6.
16.
I'm sorry.
You're right, but it's 16.
It's 16, sorry about that, okay. For, above-ground pump station number
2.
2 at 118 Colebrook Road, River Road, for the town of Winchester, and the replacement of a submersible pump station.
There a second?
Second.
Jackie? All those in favor of accepting? Frank?
Yes.
It's unanimous? Okay, gentlemen, thank you on that one.
We do a vote on it, I mean, this is the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Well-
so the site's different.
Yeah, let's
Two
look at
different
the site.
applications.
Tell us the difference.
Yeah.
Talk about the difference.
Okay, so, I'll just show you a picture of the existing station. This is right in front of the sewage treatment plant. In this picture, we're looking south toward Winstead. Route 8 is up here, Colebrook River Road is up here. There's a grass slope that comes down, and then there's a flat area cut into the grass slope. There's retaining walls on two sides. It's relatively short, like a Versalock block wall here, just to make a flat area for the pump station. And then on the inside, this is what it looks like. The manhole cover here is the current wet well. This manhole receives gravity sewage from the VFW point that I talked about earlier. And then it goes into the dry pit, which is the same thing we just looked at on the other site. There's a deep man tube here that goes down into a larger can. About the bottom of it is pretty close to 20 feet below grade. So it's pretty, when I look down there, I'm like, I'm not going in that thing. You
So this is heavier excavation or deeper
Well,
excavation
no.
to do this, or no?
No, because we're only going down 6 feet on both of them.
Okay.
So there's an existing like 6 foot or so
Yeah.
diameter manhole that goes all the way down. At the top, about 6 feet below grade, it starts to taper in, so you just have your round manhole. We just have to cut that off and get it out so we can
Right.
Put those rings.
full-size diameter manhole.
And this is closer to some wetlands, I believe?
Well,
A little bit
we're close
closer?
to the Still River.
Still
Yeah.
River, which is a,
And I'll show you on the site plan momentarily
Yeah, yeah.
when we get there. So this is exactly the same station, and in the narrative, I talked about the same issues that we talked about at the other station. This one will have 3,350 square feet of disturbance, which is 7 or 800ths of an acre. It's very small, very manageable if we're diligent about the erosion controls.
And everything is gonna be, everything that's proposed is behind that fence, or inside that fence area?
Yes, the new enclosure will be slightly larger than this one, but it will be enclosed. We're gonna rebuild the walls, and raise the site up about a foot for floodplain protection, and put the chain link fence back around.
There will be some excavation outside the fenced area too. We've got to we've got to do some conduit work for a new wire to feed this.
Yeah, and I'll show that on the site plan. So I'll just get rid of this one, and we'll go right to the site plans. And let me get rid of this. Make these a little bit bigger. Okay, so here's our existing station right here.
Where are the wetlands on this picture, or
The- Right, this is the Still River, right here.
Okay, all right.
And then it rises up steeply to our pump station right here.
And the distance?
Well, I don't have a paper copy in front of me. I could scale it if, did you have an extra one here, Lance? The full size?
You want this?
You're gonna have to build it to a 100-year storm.
Yeah, he's got one right here.
Okay.
You have to build an elevation 100-year storm?
Yeah.
Yes, we have to elevate, any sensitive electric equipment has to be
Way up there.
1 foot above the 100-year floodplain. Is that number one? Okay. I'll be right with you, Mr. Chairman, I'll get your number.
Jim, while he's looking, anything? While he's looking, anything to continue?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same job. You know, it's the project is essentially the same. We don't have to relocate a utility pole, but we do have to do a little bit of relocation of the conduit that brings the wire in. This is fed, this doesn't have a generator for the pump station because it's fed from the generator that runs the sewer plant. So that wire we just have to make sure all those, we're gonna be replacing the wire, but we can pull it through most of the conduit. But there's little disturbances here and there, but essentially it's the same exact.
And the timing of when you'd like to begin this?
These will be going on,
Simultaneously?
yeah, kinda concurrently.
You have the personnel?
Well, between what we have and what we're gonna subcontract out, yeah, we've been talking, we got the pumps, or the pumps come as a package, so you just lift them up with a crane and you set them in place. So that's like the easiest part. The electrician is, that's doing the work is Onion Electric, because they're the ones that do the electrical work and they're familiar with the wiring. The generator work is being done by Tower, because they're the vendor that takes care of those. At the moment, we're looking at using Dave Curtis as the site guy for the work. He's kind of become our go-to guy since Pepper was our on-call vendor before. After his passing, Dave Curtis has stepped into that role. So we're working on, just coordinating all of that stuff. And again, it's a relatively small site plan, footprint. So as much of the material as we can is gonna go right into a truck and out of there, just so you're not congested and not having to stabilize those soils.
And you want to get back to?
Yes, so this corner right here is 40 feet from the Still River.
Okay.
The top of the bank of the Still River. The water on normal days down here, but, the bank full condition would be where this heavy black line is. 40 feet away is this corner, and this drain here This little line coming down is the under drain for the backside of the retaining walls. That would be 35 feet from the river. And that's the closest point of site work that we have. So on this one, we have silt fence completely down gradient and adjacent to our work. The major difference on this one from the other one is that we have to raise this site higher. We're gonna raise this site up about a foot, and we have to therefore rebuild about 58 feet of the driveway to ramp up from the old elevation out here to the new elevation of the pump station. But what's going on in here is pretty much exactly like the other one. Conduits going from control panels to the pump, and we're gonna put a work light in here so the guys can see at night. And this is where, Jim, we have to build an electrical manhole right here so that we can divert the electric service which comes across the floodplain from the sewage treatment plant to this pump station. We have to put a little manhole in here and build new conduits to a new transformer that we're gonna put here. So the two projects are essentially identical from a technical point of view. It's just that the sites are different and they have slightly different site work. This one has more disturbance than the previous one. This is 3,350 square feet, the previous one was 2,000.
I don't know if my question is pertinent, but is there money available where the funds are available to do both of this simultaneously sometime in the next 6 months? Or,
Well, we're thinking so. We've got the pumps ordered and we're using.
There better be, right?
We're using ARPA money for that. The American.
again,
Plan
I
money.
just, I just didn't want to be kicked down the road 2 years because
It's
all of
not-
a sudden now,
It's not the intention. We want these things done. Those old pumps we can't get parts for them. This is a pretty big deal that we get these done.
They were built in 1960, so they're 63 years old.
All right. It's okay.
And you can tell they're not running right.
Frank, anything?
No,
Gary?
I think they've answered all my questions.
Yeah, so you're not moving any tanks, you're just moving the pumping systems.
Yeah, we're retrofitting an
New
existing
pumps,
facility.
all the old
We do have
tanks.
to do some digging, we have to bring some fill in, especially on this site,
Mhm.
to raise everything up above the floodplain a little bit. But
Just the pumps.
again, it's relatively modest. This is,
The controls are above ground now.
yeah.
All right, any other concerns?
Huh?
Lance?
Nope.
Do we
This
need a-
one, it'll be Jeff, honestly. We'll probably go to more often than the other side, I would imagine, when the work is being done, just to keep an eye on Still River especially. But, no concerns.
When you say Jeff, why not a new wetlands agent? Oh, I thought he was an assistant to,
No, you're gonna learn about him very shortly.
are we?
They're multitasking in City Hall now.
Oh. Surprise, surprise. All right, do we have a motion?
Were you gonna make it?
No, I was gonna ask a question.
Oh, go ahead, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Jeff.
Can we move ahead with agent determination on these so they don't have to come back?
You know what?
Why?
I don't think they're ready to begin anyway, number one, and I think to allow this to be an agent determination, because it's of significance, not the impact,
Yeah.
but the project itself.
The appearance, I get that,
Yeah.
We try to hold everybody to the same
Yeah.
standard. And like you said, we're not gonna be,
Ready anyway.
yeah, we've got a month before we can pull all the pieces together anyway, so.
All right, thank you. All right, so we don't need a public hearing next. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept applicant, or accept IWWC 2317, Town of Winchester, for the rehabilitation of sewage pumping station number 1 at 470 Main Street.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting? That's unanimous.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much for your
gentlemen.
time.
Thank you for your presentation.
Good luck.
Jim, are you gonna stick around for a little bit, or?
I am.
Oh, okay, cool.
Want to get you Jim first, Steve?
Or take you off the hook?
Well, yeah.
All right, we don't, all right, we can move the agenda around. We have agent determinations, 2 of them, no warning, so we can get to Jim for reports and stuff. Go ahead,
Just
wanna bring us up
update
to
us
date where
on
you
all
are,
your,
Jim?
Sure. So, we're trying to get everything around the lake taken care of before Memorial Day, because after Memorial Day, it's just that much harder to do any kind of maintenance around the lake with all the traffic and all the people. So just to give you, I had the superintendent write me up a quick blurb on what we've done around the lake thus far. And we have swept the entire lake twice. All the head walls and waterways have been cleaned with the backhoe just to get all the debris and silt and sediment out of those. All basins and sediment chambers have been cleaned up, and I think the last one was done today. They went around the lake with the roadside mower and cleaned up some areas. They were removing some storm damage today, and some low-hanging brush. They've been around the lake 3 times already patching potholes, and they're gonna make one more round of pothole patching before Memorial Day. And then they put the police boat dock in, and so that's essentially everything. We've swept everything twice, we've cleaned out every basin, every chamber, and, tried to take care of some pothole patching and done just some roadside maintenance as well. So our goal is always to get that done before Memorial Day, so we made it for 2 years in a row, actually. So,
Looking good, Jeff. Maybe talk.
Good luck, Jim.
I wanted to ask one other
Brad.
question that not related to this, but you may be able to speak on this a little bit. Next door here, the bridge, who is the town, how is the town involved with that project?
So that is a town project,
Okay.
and it's
So
part
the
of the
town's the
federal
GC, we mean when you say town project, or?
town project, meaning we're paying for it. Well,
Right.
I shouldn't even say that. We solicited the project. It's a
Right.
town-owned bridge.
Right, okay.
So that's what I mean by it's a town project. So that bridge is being done with through the federal local bridge program,
Right.
and they're paying the full freight of the whole job on this one. It was,
Right.
they had a change in program, so, they're funding the whole thing, which is really, really awesome. So the program we used, the state actually did they oversee the whole project. We solicit an engineer to work with the DOT procured engineers, and together they come up with a project where they can develop off the synergies of other projects and not have to
Sure, yeah.
redesign everything every time. So our engineers and their engineers came up with a design, everything was approved, everything was funded. We have an engineer out there observing the work from, the company is Benesh Engineering. So they are overseeing everything, as well as, we have, at this point, I think it's monthly progress meetings. It's the same time I have another meeting, so I haven't attended it,
Yeah,
but Barb
okay.
has. And, they've been making good progress, and there's a lot of oversight to try to keep everything clean. Before that big storm, we had them go and just sweep and vacuum. We brought our sweeper out and just cleaned up everything. We made them clean up everything just to keep the concrete dust down.
Yeah.
The actual excavation is pretty modest on that. What you see is really what there is. The bridge abutments are staying. They had some repairs to one of the retaining walls. It was deteriorating for some reason. Must have got some salt into it at some point. So they had to cut that off. But there's really no work in the watercourse. It's really all up above.
Is there any, so my question was, so I was there today and looking at it, and I was almost pleasantly surprised that there's not more debris in the water, because it must have been during the demolition phase, there must have been some other netting possibly around that, around the lower, so you've got the big, bridge, I don't know what those bridge members are, the main supports that go across, and
Yes.
underneath that, you have a platform.
Yep.
But there's no netting off to the right or sides of that. My concern with walking and looking was there's a lot of construction, basically like concrete debris that can easily get, you've got a river right below you, right below. It's easy to get any of that material just even kicked off or flipped off. I'm sort of surprised that there wasn't like some sort of basic mesh netting around that, like up around the sides, that would prevent any debris from going into the water, because once debris goes in the water, it's not gonna come out, right? Like,
Well, they'd have to take it out.
Right. But is that-
Ideally, you wouldn't get it in the first place.
Right.
But the reason they don't really have any kind of netting on the outside is when they're breaking that concrete, they had to reach over the side. And they
Right.
were breaking it, so the stuff was falling into a containment device
Right,
that they
okay.
picked up. And then once they got inboard, they had that platform
Right.
that was taking care of it. I mean, we
from
can
a
certainly.
town's perspective, are you happy with what they have for erosion control and, in a sense, debris control for going into the river?
I think the silt fence could have been matted together a
Yeah.
little bit better. I think they could have done a little bit better care.
But is that something we have as a town, or
Yeah, I mean,
this
I can
board
certainly
have?
tell them that Wetlands wants this cleaned up and tell them I'd like this, tidy up their silt fences. But there's a very small disturbed area too, so
Yeah.
there's not much chance for erosion to come from anywhere. So,
Right.
at this point, it's a pretty stable site. But I can certainly, communicate your concerns.
I'm only one person on the board. I
Yeah,
went there and looked at it and said, oh, well, we've got a major project going on directly over a river.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said,
So-
I've only visited the site once since they got the
Right.
demolition, completed. And, for the most part, I was pretty happy with how it
Yeah.
looked. There's a few little things, but again,
I
the
feel like
disturbed
it
area
could
is
go,
so
if
minimal.
it wasn't overseen some more, if you haven't been there that much, and not much, many of us have been here, that it's something that
Sure.
it's not on their radar, I feel like. It could go south.
Oh, it was on their radar when we had them out there cleaning up before the storm, I'll tell you.
Right, okay,
Let
yeah.
me tell you,
But from what I saw, I feel like it's a project that could kind of go south, not
Yeah,
like a major
I'll
problem.
make
but
a double
I
concerted
feel
effort
that we
to
should have a little more input on
dial
it.
them right in, yes.
Yeah,
Jim, to
absolutely.
formalize it, Russ and Jeff are liaisons from our committee to you.
Yep.
So you could use their comments.
Yep.
as
No, exactly, that's what I'll
As
do.
representative of the committee, and ask for issues to be resolved to your satisfaction.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when that did help me get action up at Taylor Brook when we had that storm. They weren't as prepared as they could have been, and they just wanted to just keep going. And I said, well, you can keep going if you want, but how much money are you making when Wetlands shuts you down? Because that's
Yeah.
the next step. All of a
Okay.
sudden, we got action, so
Good.
it's not a small thing having some horsepower behind me. It does help me.
Yeah.
You want me to meet with
Good.
you?
What's that?
You want me to go with you to the meeting?
That'd be great.
Russ, no, show up. and be-
Yeah, that'd
be
be
your
awesome.
muscle.
He's not golfing tomorrow.
Can I ask a
Golfing
question?
tomorrow or what?
At the Public Works meeting last May, you were talking about doing some traffic control on Bridge Street,
Let's get,
which now is definitely affected with the detour.
Yep.
Is there now what's happening is everybody's congregating and backing each other up. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna
Yeah.
T-bone somebody. I was just wondering
So-
if that plan should be initiated now with the,
I think initiating it now would cause us more trouble
Gotta
than
go
help.
slow, man, just drive slow.
what's happening now is you're not clearing the intersection, everybody's backing up. And they come around those two
Gotta go
turns,
slow, man.
they're not going
Pay
slow.
attention, drive slow.
I mean, the best thing I could do would be to recommend the police to just,
No, I'm
you know,
saying,
have
but
a
there was a
presence
plan
there.
to.
Yeah, to do that now, I think would
Oh.
cause us way more complication.
Okay, I'm just saying, okay.
But that plan is still evolving
Oh.
too, so we don't necessarily want to do that plan right now.
Okay.
We've got a few other projects in the works that may tweak that and make it even better, so we're
Okay.
holding off
I
for
go
a
the other
couple,
way. I go
for a
late.
couple reasons.
Jim, one last
Bypass this.
question quick. On Taylor Brook, they're gonna be finished before Memorial Day?
The plan is to open that on Friday afternoon,
This Friday.
this Friday.
Good. Okay.
There's still a few things we gotta dial in. I think that might be a little ambitious, but it'll definitely be open before
Good.
Memorial
I
Day.
mean, only because that's when the world is
That's,
back.
and that was,
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Jeff, Russ, thank you.
Thanks,
Jim, thanks for staying, we appreciate it.
Who's
Let's go
agenda?
back to where we are on the agenda. Agent determination, I think we left off at. Lance?
So hopefully you received my notes from a site visit that I spent, I think that was also the end of March. As you're all probably aware, if you've been by it, it's a tough site, you know.
Which one's that?
I'm sorry, so 257 Colebrook Road, they're literally in a fishbowl. The house is up on the hill, and the river's
Oh,
right, and then the driveway, and so their whole usable space of their property is in the 100-foot regulated area. So we had a good conversation. They do have a well. That was one thing that came up, is like, were they pumping from the river? The answer is no. There is a well on site. You showed it to me. You probably saw in my notes, they do not have a septic system. So it's had a cesspit or cesspool, as the way, and it's it was in there. It was kind of a hunting cabin originally, I think, when it was built. I talked to Julie Prue from Torrington Area Health District, and she said that's
Thank you, Jim.
not something they approve or whatever, but she gave me guidance. She said obviously you wouldn't want new systems like that being installed, but it's whatever the word I'm trying to say, whatever, and it should be maintained. So that would be one of the recommendations I would say.
Has he done
I have
anything
no
with it?
idea, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess probably not,
Right.
to be frank. What else was it? So we were looking at it pretty much for the partial. So what happened? They received a cease and desist because they had started doing the work on the sound addition that was there.
Right, yeah,
redid the house without any permits. So what happened was he had had a first inspection about a year ago. This was still when Mark Melanson was our building official, and he had some conditions that needed to be approved, which they have since done. They haven't done anything since the cease and desist went in afterwards, though, and now they were just looking for the roof, as you might remember. When we met with
That
them.
was 4 months ago, they were crying for that roof.
Right. And I don't know, I mean, I don't want to pry into their personal business, but they had to pay taxes, and they said that's why they didn't have.
Whatever.
We all do.
Right. So, but as far as I could see from any kind of erosion issues, they do have silt fencing. It was frozen still partially to the ground in the end of March. So what I'd like to do is maybe go back and give him some better recommendations if he needs to reinstall it at this point. It's a muddy site. It doesn't get a lot of sun, so that's hard as well. But I didn't see anything getting into the water directly. The debris and the blight issues is ongoing, and that's probably his biggest, in my opinion, hurdle.
From from what I think of as a wetlands perspective here, I mean, the biggest issue in my mind is whatever whatever they're calling this cesspool system, is that really is what needs to be, it looks like they're looking to live at this property more and more, which is certainly their right to do so. But, they have water there, which is good, they have a well, but I mean, that system is essentially grandfather claused in, and should at least be maintained, because as that fails, that is, you're right above the water there, that's a main water course that.
Did you ask for a schedule, a maintenance schedule on that? Because the recommendation, I think, is every 3 years.
Every 3 years is the recommendation,
Yeah,
yep.
but are they doing it?
I think they've been there 5, so my guess would be no. So I would, when I follow up with them, I
Moving forward,
will
that's
say-
gonna become a I feel like that's gonna become a sticking point for them and probably this board a bit, as far as our, our we're here to protect these water courses, and sewers right above water courses are problematic, I mean, especially one that's grandfathered in. I mean, you'd never have that system now, so it really behooves him to attempt to maintain something that's there, because otherwise he'll potentially make the property
How many rooms is that house?
I mean, what?
How many rooms?
Rooms, it's modest. I think I saw, there's a living room, bedroom that are connected. The new reconstruction is just the kitchen and a bathroom. It's small.
The only thing you can inquire with the health district on is septic systems are designed by bedrooms. If you put any kind of more living space on your building, you need to redesign your septic system. But I think they basically just on bedrooms. So if they didn't have a bedroom prior, if it was just a hunting cabin, didn't have a bedroom, you might have an argument for them to have to do a septic system.
Well, right now, there is a bedroom, and you have.
It's not, technically it's not a separate room. It is part of like one big room with the living room,
One big room.
bathroom. Yeah, but they've just sectioned
If they
off.
make it a bedroom, then you have grounds to make them get back into the septic system.
Which they won't.
Why don't you report back next month as to the status of
Yeah,
that
that's what I mean, he needs to
septic
get that
system?
system taken
Okay.
care of.
So that we have an idea of how it exists and if they're maintaining it or not maintaining it.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. This is gonna be ongoing, I sense. All right, the other, agent determination was the Brian Gooden.
Yeah, actually, Jeff and I went and spoke with Brian on Monday or Wednesday. So we saw him on Monday. He went over his project with the retention wall, and the short answer is he hasn't started any of the work yet. But we're actually planning to meet with him again tomorrow to talk about that and another thing that he has on his property.
That's the three little wooden.
The garden beds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the one that he had to get a town easement for.
And
because it's
just,
technically on
just
town
let him,
land.
just remind him that his easement ends September 1st,
Okay.
you know, Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's just an update, that there's nothing to report for, it would have to be on next agenda again.
All right, let me find out where I am, agent determination, warnings, there are none. My sense is nothing has been done with the violations.
So tomorrow we are going gangbusters. We're gonna be hitting all these sites, including some of the blight issues that we have in town. And, my hope was if Jeff, the person who's hiring, was gonna be in place a little bit earlier, was we would have a report for you for tonight. Since we didn't, we're gonna do it definitely for the June meeting. And we've already talked about what that will entail.
Okay, tell us something about Jeff now, because
Let's talk about Jeff.
I'm confused.
So, third day on the job, Jeff Green is from Waterbury. He was one of, I don't even know if I just tell you, he was one of 4 applicants that we looked at. We were looked for, you know, as you may have seen, the position was assistant town planner, inland wetlands agent, and zoning enforcement officer. That's a lot, to be honest, it's a lot. What is going to happen this time around that didn't really happen this much with Michael is Jeff and I will be teaming up quite a bit, especially on the enforcement end, which is planning and zoning's #1 concern.
So we're gonna have 2 wetlands agents.
Essentially, well, yep.
I like it.
So that kind of works out a little bit better for this board, I would say, too.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, maybe.
To be determined.
We'll let you know.
But Jeff will be your main staff liaison. We have a new land use coordinator as well. Her name is Shane. Why not? I would say Shane is a go-getter. She doesn't want to not be busy, so I think she's going to fit in very well. That's basically what was Pam's replacement, correct? And again, they both started on Monday, so we're all kind of figuring it out still as we go along. But Jeff's background, do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little more?
Sure. I most recently worked as the deputy registrar in Waterbury. Prior to that, I did 5 years with Waterbury Development Corporation, managing projects, making sure all the stipulations and rules were followed and all that kind of stuff. I do have a bachelor's degree in basically urban studies from UConn. And in addition to that stuff, I've been on the City Plan Commission in Waterbury for 20-some odd years. This is the first time being on the other side of the desk, and I now have a greater appreciation for the staff that I've worked with prior, because there's a lot that goes into this. But I'm excited to be here. You know, as Lance said, I'm going to be wearing a couple of different hats, so I'm learning all that as I go.
Can you talk a little bit about your wetlands credentials?
I'm working on getting certified right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's brand new.
Okay.
And we are going to have him shadow, I should have mentioned that, some other inland wetlands agents from towns around. So get some practical experience that way too. Which, believe it or not, Michael didn't even get. He just learned it on the fly. Once you kind of learn the regulations, that's kind of a huge help. And then as you sit in more of these meetings and you get, this is my 3rd meeting, and I've learned a lot in a short period of time. So this job you can pick up pretty quickly, and we've gone over what the biggest concerns are, and you're always telling me what you go out and say, so we always follow up, and I think Jeff is going to be a nice fit, and I hope everybody feels like they can reach out to both of us anytime.
And just so from my perspective anyway, I'm used to the wetlands agent and the role that Pam filled in the past. to answer a lot of questions and give us guidance. So, you know, the expectation is down the road, we're gonna put you guys on the spot, or I will, and you're gonna have to give us the right answer, so to speak, because the wrong answer gives us the wrong direction.
Sure.
And,
Yeah, I will
you
not
know.
give you an immediate and wrong answer. I'd rather tell you I'm gonna look into it and give you the right answer.
Yeah, good.
I mean, we even went into depth as far as parliamentary procedure with Michael and Pam. You know what I mean? And
You know,
what
I
we
mean-
had to do, our dates, our, you know, all of
Well,
that.
that's why I asked, like, sometimes, does the applicant, or do we have more time to continue? Sometimes the time exceeds, and we need to know those dates.
And there's gonna be a change in policy. On all of our agendas from now on, we're gonna have the date that the applications were accepted. So we'll be able to tell right from each meeting
Well,
when it
the
started.
applications were.
They have them on it,
They're
but
accepted.
in my opinion, it's easier to just keep track of it this way, just to know when
Any
the
way you
date
wanna
is.
keep track of it, just so long as it gives us answers.
Right.
But again, not only keeping track of it, but to know what the language of the length of time for public hearings or whatever, whatever. Like that Cumberland Farms is a perfect example. They were before us 3 or 4 months
January.
ago. And we threw them under the rug because they never showed, and we denied it based on.
And you all hopefully know the backstory on that. So
But
what
again-
happened was, January, they were talking with Michael. February, I think our meeting got canceled or something. March, they didn't know who to contact. So it totally was on the town to drop the ball. And then when I reached out to them for April meeting, say, are you still interested in whatever? He's like, well, when's your meeting? I said, well, it's tonight. I said, oh, I can't come tonight. So that's why you guys had to deny with it. It works out okay. It is sloppy. I'll absolutely agree. And I'll own it. That shouldn't have happened. And again, it was the transition time and they fell through the cracks a little bit.
And just, if anybody has any knowledge of anybody that'd like to serve on this commission, we're short 3 members now. So, you know, we're used to having meetings all the time where quorums were never a concern. And now we're, you know, close. Let's leave it at that. Anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Oh, we have one thing
Oh, I know why,
You
I
just-
forgot, thank you.
You have to,
No, we don't.
well, you have to appoint Jeff. You
No.
should make a motion tonight to do that.
Doesn't
So-
the town hire him?
Yeah, right, this
Protocol,
is,
he's on the protocol, it's
I'm
good,
on the
right? We're in the right
protocol.
direction.
You wanna tell us how to make the motion? Of course,
motion
I don't think we've ever done
to
before.
appoint Jeffrey, you did it for me, actually.
Oh.
You motion to appoint Jeffrey Green as the new town Winchester Inland Wetlands agent. And here's your representative for the board, essentially, that's what you're,
So the motion is made by you, is that appropriate?
I don't know if it's appropriate for
Yeah,
me, I
or-
don't know if I can do it. Yeah.
All right, then I'll make the motion, in
Okay.
your language. Is there a second?
I'll second
Any, all in
it.
favor?
All in favor?
All right, it's unanimous. Congratulations.
All right.
The other thing is, that there's that ordinance or something
Yeah.
we need a copy of that according to the language, where it's highlighted in red, so we know there's the changes.
So you did get it.
Yeah, but it's,
Is it again in this packet or no?
No, it's in the packet, I
it's
saw
a
it.
Okay.
packet, but it's not, there's nothing, there's one handwritten note or something that makes reference to it, but it's not highlighted in red. And so we don't know the scope of the changes, and it's, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 pages, couple of things in yellow.
So this new girl was putting the packages together?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and so I'm at a disadvantage, and I'm going through the same thing with planning and zoning, is I wasn't part of the process when the consultants were hired a few years back to do this for the ordinances. So I'm having a very hard time explaining to even P and Z, you know, what the changes actually mean. My understanding, and I've talked to Josh a million times, it seems like, about it, is just, it's a user-friendly document that when you go onto the website, right now, the regulations are in a PDF format. So you have to review, you have to scroll through every page when you want to find something. What they want to do is they're gonna have a search engine so you can put in
Right.
moorings, and anything that comes up in, you know, the regulations about moorings will be highlighted. So that's the goal of it, at least that's what the selectmen wanted with the ordinances, and so they rolled in inland wetlands and planning and zoning regulations with it.
Okay.
so.
Well, we can't
That's
act,
my understanding. If you need me to try to find somebody who can explain it better,
you know, it's given to us, so we can't act on it unless it's given to us where we can make a decision, an intelligent decision based on what the changes are and, you know, I don't think we have a concern of why they're making the changes, but that they're recommending these changes, and then we vote on it or not on it.
and it should go to public hearing. I shared this with the COG too, because I wasn't sure if they needed their 35-day window. She said no.
Okay.
So for yours, you don't need that.
All right, am I still scheduled to meet with the town
Yeah,
manager on
Friday.
Friday 11?
Yep.
Okay,
This
and,
wasn't theirs, this is mine.
trying to think if there's anything else.
Why don't we bring that up again, the codification?
Oh, yeah, I think so, I thought we already get it, okay.
All right, we done?
All right, wait, Jackie, you made a motion to adjourn. Did anybody second?
I second.
You did?
Okay.
Everybody wants to go home.
Okay.
Hey, you beat 10 o'clock?
What?
You did good.
You beat 10 o'clock?
I